Everything we do, we offer honor and glory to the Most High Chukwu Abiyama, upon whom we rest all our trust and our belief, upon whom we know that Biafra must come. As long as we remain whiter than white and whiter than snow, there is no way that Biafra will not come. We must remain without fear before our enemies. Our enemies are afraid of us, rather than us being afraid of them. That is why wherever you are, if you say you are a Biafran, if you identify yourself with indigenous people of Biafra, if you worship on this radio station every blessed day, then you must remain without fear before our enemies. We don't entertain fear. Fear is not something that comes into our lexicon. That is why Biafra is going to come. There is no way we are going to retreat. We cannot surrender. It is either we get Biafra or we die getting Biafra. There is no alternative. There is no third way out. There will be no prevarication. There will be no retreat. There will be no negotiations with the Nigerian government. Never, ever, ever are we going to negotiate unless they want us to sign the instruments of statehood, in which case we can talk to them. We do not discuss with Nigerian government. We despise the people that has made life incredibly awful for us. We despise those that have bombed us, those that have been killing us since 1945, those that have rendered us destitute, those that deported us from Lagos, those that are bombing us, those of them who are killing us, cutting out fetuses from the belly of their mothers, those that kill wives and feed their flesh to the husband to eat, those that forcibly convert us to Islam. They are making life unbearable for us. They are making us question the reason why Chukwu Abiyama himself created us. But we are very confident. Our belief is unshakable. Our desire to get Biafra cannot be questioned. They must know this, that we are fanatical about Biafra. We are insane about our country, and we're going to get it. Anything standing on our way will be killed. Anything at all, regardless of who you are, if you stand in our way, you will die. We promise you. That's what is going to happen. This is 2014. 2014 is not 1968. It is not 1969. It is not 1970. The march towards our restoration has begun. Anything on our path, anything that is stupid enough to stand before us will be crushed. We have our numbers all over the world. Our men, our women, our sons, our daughters are determined. They are dedicated to this struggle. We have not come to steal anything from anybody. We have not stolen from anyone. And we're not going to steal from anybody. All we are asking for is to be returned to the way we were before the white man came. We want to go back to the same Biafra land we had, all our freedoms that we had before the white man came and handed us over to Hausa Fulani bigots, handed us over to the Mohammedan Emirates of the North, people that don't understand what it means to be civilized. We were taken backwards in time. Our civilization was set back nearly 3,000 years to the Stone Age, to the Dark Ages. That is where we have remained up until this day. As the children of the light, we have refused to dwell within darkness. We have decided that Biafra must come, and come it should between now and the end of next year. We will fight, we will negotiate, we will deal with people, those that see reason in our quest. One thing we cannot do is to compromise. We are not Masob. I am not a Wazirike. Nothing ever before us is like us. Nothing after us will be like us. We are different. We are different. People never believed that men and women of our type exist. But we are here to tell them that Chukwu Abiyama himself has determined that we should come. And because we came, there's going to be Biafra. You will tell your friends this evening or this morning or this afternoon, depending on where you are in the world, that Radio Biafra is on live transmission. Tell your friends and family to go to YouTube. Biafra Television on YouTube. We are simulcasting on that platform as well. We are on www.radiobiafra.co. If it has crashed where you are, if radiobiafra.co is not coming up where you are, please go to peopleofbiafra.org. Peopleofbiafra.org, all the W's. Peopleofbiafra.org. If you go to indigenouspeopleofbiafra.org, you should be able to get us. Please download Radio Biafra. Go, the largest Facebook group in we exist. Every coordinator, wherever you are, you must begin to prepare. This is Ray. Contact list. They are the two. Who is our coordinator here? Our able team. They took us at our word literally, and they are moving in to convert as many people as possible. These are the people going to stop us from getting Biafra. These are the people working with Owasrike that will stop us from getting Biafra. They are the ones working for the agents of darkness, working for Islam, even using the name of Biafra. This man is gone. He's a former Nigerian footballer, and he is a Mohammedan soccer coach. Mohammedan Emirate of the North is the Hausa Fulani people, including the Kanuri people and all those around them. That was the name they were given, the Mohammedan Emirates of the North. That is their name. He has gone over to Islam. We have lost somebody to Islam this very day. Igbo leaders claim they have rejected Okoromu's panel's report on national conference. We shall delve into that. We are also reporting that Yorubas are the originators of lies, deception, tribalism, and the politics of the Zoological Republic of Nigeria, the zoo itself, that very place that every manner of animal inhabits. They look human. They even have names. They claim they went to university. The only way you will know they're animals is because they don't actually practice what they have read in school. That's the only difference. But that is how you know they're monkeys. That very zoo that inhabits monkeys perambulating, moving about as men and women. Those that brought lies to it are Yoruba people. Yoruba are the problem in the zoo. Their lies have continued for daring to come out of the hiatus to talk about Stella Odua. We shall delve into them this very evening. We dealt with Awolowo yesterday. We are returning to that very subject. The criminal known as Obafemi Awolowo, we are dealing with this very man and all the criminal conspiratorial people that surround the Yoruba media. We are dealing with them this very day. This is Radio Biafra. We are also reporting to the hearing of our listeners all over the world. There has been an explosion in a Rivers High Court, Rivers being Iguacha, they named it Port Harcourt after the Secretary of State that fancied Lugard's wife. The man was in love with another man, was bewitched by Flora Shaw. That man, they named Iguacha after him. Port Harcourt. This very man, Cecil Harcourt, was the Secretary of State here, responsible for the colonial territories when Lugard was there. There has been an explosion in a court there. More bombs are coming. They are coming. We don't support violence, but we can understand where.
1 minute, my people.
On air every evening, the whole world must listen. As long as we preach this very gospel, Chukwokika Abiyama must be with us. Therefore, without any further hesitation, we must proceed to offer every prayer to Chukwu Okike Abiyama who resided in heaven. Therefore, as we always commence, not from today, but from of old, our Father who art in heaven, that your name may be hallowed by men, that we may bow at the mention of it, that we may offer every glory unto thee, that we may offer you every adoration and adulation, because there is none like thee. You fight our battles for us. Every blessed day you demonstrate through your kindness and your everlasting mercy that you are our Lord, our God, and our Creator. This evening we offer these your children unto thee all over this very planet that you created. They are listening across the entire 24 time zones on this very planet where they inhabit. They are listening to your gospel this very evening, this gospel of redemption, a gospel of hope, a gospel of restoration, a gospel of renewal, this very gospel of freedom, this very gospel of emancipation as only you ordained. that this very gospel must be preached, that mankind may be set free from the eternal damnation of the creation of the British. My goodness me, I want to remain in the spirit because we must worship heaven. We answer your name, O Lord of hosts. Everything about us is designed to offer glory unto thee. We have atoned for our sins last year. This very year, we have not only atoned for our sins, we have spilled, we have shed blood, they have shed our blood. We have let our sacrifice be made unto thee. Even on the 30th of August, as we are being felled by the bullets of the enemy, by the workers of iniquity and of darkness, we remain very strong today to beckon upon thee, to ask you for your mercy and for your grace, to ensure that your kingdom is restored upon the face of the earth, that you can bring your healing hand to bear upon the life of those of them that you created for one singular purpose, and that purpose alone, which is to worship you in truth and in every honesty. Is there any way that we have erred? Is there any way that our ancestors may have sinned? We confess before a congregation of the whole of humanity to ask you, O Lord of hosts, to have mercy upon us. You must have mercy upon us. We have suffered enough. We have been subjugated enough. We have been tortured enough. We have been imprisoned enough. We did not do these people anything. Our only crime is to answer your name. Our only crime is to be born your children. Our only crime is to excel at everything that we place our hands into. Our only crime is to exhibit your glory and your blessing, which manifestedly is upon our lives every blessed day. That is why they want to kill us. That is why the British want to join those of them who don't know you to destroy your creation and your inheritance. You will not allow shame to befall your name. You will not allow the enemies to triumph over the lives of your children, because you created us to exist, to worship, to honor, and to praise you. That is exactly what we are going to do when this Biafra comes. It will come in truth and in every honesty, because we remain every blessed day whiter than white and whiter than snow. Is there any way that we have sinned that you cannot forgive us our trespasses, to enable us to fulfill your own word, which was spoken thousands of years ago, that instead of what you promised not to come to pass, that heaven and earth will cease to exist? You opened your mouth to bless mankind to the coming of Yahweh Yeshua, who came here and said, let your kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. Those words can never be in vain, because they are anchored upon your holiness and your magnificence. That is why in the end we know that Biafra will come, that these children that we have given birth to all over the world, and their children, and their children, and their children, as long as they give birth to them and they are Biafrans, they will worship you in truth and honesty. Through this very work we are doing, mankind will come to understand you. Let your miracle be wrought in our lives. Let us witness and behold your magnificence, your holiness, your mystery, and your grace under our command. O Lord of hosts, we call upon you. We call upon you to heal. We call upon you to provide succor to those of them who are inconsolable. We ask you to come and strengthen those who are weak. We ask you to restore hope where there is hopelessness. We ask you for inclusion where there is destitution. We ask you for one brotherhood, one camaraderie, one bone, one blood, and one flesh of your children, the Efiks and the Bibios, the Izon, the Shekiri, the Isobos, and also those of them from Isoko. We are traveling all the way to the lands of Igala. We are moving on from there to Idoma, to Igede, to the territories of the Igbo land. All these places we dedicate unto thee. All these lands of yours, we ask you to cover it with your mercy. Because Biafra will come, and when it does, we will dance on the streets. I'm telling you, by the time that we are done, humanity will think that we are mad, we are drunk in your glory, and rightfully so, because your kingdom will come to rest upon this very earth. That very kingdom is the unadulterated, non-negotiable sovereignty of the Republic of Biafra, that your will may be fulfilled in our time. All this we pray, all these we ask for, in no other name apart from that name that belongs to you. He said, my name is Nnamdi Kanu. I am the leader of indigenous people of Biafra all over this very planet, I tell you.
He is the leader of the indigenous people, not by organization, not registered organization. He is the leader of the citizens of United States of Biafra. He is the leader of the indigenous people. That's who he is. No doubt and no debate about it. It is a high time that we tell ourselves the truth. But before that, I salute you, my Prime Minister, Simon Ekpanjoku. I salute you, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the President of United States of Biafra. I salute you, the current leadership under Dr. Ngozi Orabueze and all the cabinet members. I thank you, I appreciate you, Mazi Ushandi Okenwa, for the good job that two of you are doing. More than what lobby can do, more than what congressmen can do for us. Two of you, with all the cabinet members, are doing this wonderful, needful for Biafrans, proving that we have government structure, not empty portfolio. I'm not claiming. And I also welcome every Biafran who believe and who understand that he or she is a proud citizen of redeclared November the 29th, 2024, the name with the name United States of Biafra. This is our country. That is what Mazi Nnamdi Kanu prayed for. Unnegotiable Republic of Biafra. We have redeclared on November the 29th, 2024, the Republic of United States of Biafra. What is confusing you if you want Biafra? Is it the name United States? Don't you understand that united we stand, divided we fall? And in a modern day world, to prove the continuity of the old one, like Ghana has changed their normal country before, the former name. Many countries in Africa has changed the name they are using to tally on the present day country. What is bringing confusion in your brain? Is it that name? Is it that name, United? Or you don't know that it simply means United State of Biafra Republic. They're not the same thing, if I may ask you. But that is just it for you. But for me, I am a proud citizen. I am indigenous person of United States of Biafra. I said what? I am a proud citizen, indigenous person of United States of Biafra, the land of the rising sun. We welcome you. And as I welcome you, please endeavor to hit the like button so others who join us, others that never join, we get notification from you and join us, because there is those who watch us through your page is how they know when we are live, like the way we are this morning. So please, I only urge you to endeavor to share and like the program if you never do so. It is very important if you do so. So as we are waiting for the number to increase up to maximum number for us to move on, so please do not delay to like and share so you can join us this morning. Please, it's very, very important if you do so. Please do so others can get the information from you and join us. Share to any platform you are. Please share. Share. That is how the message goes viral. That is how you help the message whenever you share the message. So based on that, as I welcome you already, I want you to understand that we are here for just one thing. That one thing is to make sure that you understand the importance of our country and why redeclaration is only way to achieve a lost country. Why government in exile that issue a peaceful redeclaration is the best way to achieve a lost nation. We want the world to hear us. We want the world to understand us and where we are at this stage, that as we are pushing for our own nation, we want them to hear. We want them to tell them reason why Biafra is solution in Africa, and that's that sentence called One Nigeria. We want you to listen to us because we are here to make you to understand that it's only you as declared is the solution. You see, the loss of this Christian country from 1967 to this day is why people are being died every day, is why people are being killed every day. Because of what? We are never one country. Before the amalgamation of Nigeria, before the white man came, the coming of a white man, British through Federal Lugard, is why we are being massacred today, is why the Biafran people are being killed every minute of the day. We want you to understand this clearly. We want the world to know that going back to the way we are before the 1914, having all the Eastern region, having the Yorubas and the North is the best way, because what is happening today is not happening then. It's not ready to happen if not for the amalgamation. So the mistake of a white man, the mistake of British is why we are dying, and the denying of the Christian country, which is Republic of Biafra in the 967, in the continuity in the old to into the new, transition to United States of Biafra. Like after you have a country of name through the colonial power, after you may decide to change it and have the right to do so. So we have done that. What we are doing today, we want the world to sincerely understand where we stand and why we have to move the way we are moving. It is our inalienable right. It is our what? Inalienable right to have our own country. Brother, please do not deviate from my. When you come to my program, please focus on what I am doing. Did Chike Doziem visit Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in prison? Brother. Did Chike Doziem visit Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in prison? Did Chinasa Sanwo-Olu visit Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in prison? That's my question. If you look at my headline, our DPM visiting Mazi Simon Ekpa, is he going to bring him out? Our DPM visiting Mazi Nnamdi, Mazi Simon Ekpa, is he going to bring Mazi Simon Ekpa out? Why can't we focus on things that is keeping us and leave things that are not keeping us? That is why our ignorance is why Biafra has never come. We leave things to focus and do another different thing. Brother from India, I greet you. Please listen to the program. Visit has nothing to do with what we are doing. And you are in India. Sheikh, when British arrested Magahandi, and when his second in command of Magahandi in India went to visit Magahandi, they arrested him, put him in the same prison with Magahandi. Well, you are in India. I'm giving you India history because I believe in history. Magahandi went to London to visit. Sorry, the second in command, the three of them together, went to India to visit Magahandi, and there was being arrested. In Algeria, when the leader of Algeria was arrested by France, the cabinet members, 8 of them, went to visit their leader. They was also arrested. Why can't we reason? And the neighbor told our DP never visited Obatobie. Do not be deceived. We are running government. We are not running organization. We are running what? Government, not an organization. And I want this program to just be very brief. So please, follow the program. So we move to the program properly this wonderful afternoon, this wonderful evening. All this propaganda, she never visit DP or Prime Minister, all are lies and the propaganda. It was a mere propaganda. Do you want her to tell you that she's going to visit our Prime Minister? Do you want her to come and announce, oh, today I am going to visit? And you tell when he visits, those enemies that are in Finland, cooking all this propaganda and all these lies. Our DPM is someone who wants to go to Finland and come and call anybody to visit Obatobie. She knows where Obatobie is, so she goes direct. So please, leave it for there. Listen to the program I am here to do. Before that, the program, as I setting up, so please let us use our minute to greet every Biafrans on the comment section before we move. Please, listen. So forget about it. When you come to I am doing a different program. So when you come, please listen to what I want to do for the day. Focus on it. Have what you think and how you feel. We have our brother today, Chibo's Ede is the first person all the way from Biafra land. Thank you. So he said, hashtag, I am a citizen of United States of Biafra. And a brother who is from India, please, Mazi, I would like to reach out to you. But I have my own brother in India also. My own blood brother is in India. So I would like to reach out to you. Hashtag, Nigeria must go out of Biafra land because Biafra was redeclared on 29th November 2024 in Lahti, Finland. Thank you so much for that. I see you, Bishop Onaga. This is the rule of this page. Before you comment, this is what you can do first. You see what you see these two people now. This is the rules that guide this page. Hashtag I am a citizen of United States of Biafra, led by Songozo Arabeze, redeclared 29th November 2024 in Lati, Finland. Hashtag Nigeria must go. Biafra is my nation. Biafra is my identity. That is what it is. Thank you so much, Bishop. Onaga pant in this sabonate ne destroy. Ahmed, thank you for that. But remember the protocol, please. Please. Today is my first day seeing you. I welcome you to the page. If you never subscribe, please subscribe and like our program. Also share it. We would rather die fighting for our Biafra freedom than to be alive as a slave under Zoo Nigeria. Thank you. Your mind is there, but please, follow. I don't need to read this. I choose what I read. I see Gineka Precious. Thank you so much. Gineka Wafo, thank you for being here. Hashtag I away from Biafra land. Hashtag I am a citizen of the United States of Biafra. Hashtag Nigeria must out of Biafra land. Thank you so much. Thank you for that. Hashtag Free Mazenande. Hashtag Free Simon. But thank you, Wanda, for that. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. All of that you are hearing is propaganda. That's what the enemies are saying. Thank you for that. Ahmed, thank you for your reply. Thank you. The same those if you know that China Samoa is a criminal, that is how those who are present propaganda is also a criminal. Again, what we are doing. DPM has posted her visits many occasions. Please, my brother, I am not about China Samoa and Chike Doziem, because I know those ones are. So if you see the way you know that those ones are criminal, my brother, that is how anybody parading our DP and officer is a criminal and a liar. Please. Hope you understand it. That is it. So if you are here, please, if you know you want to join our WhatsApp group, try and contact this number, our WhatsApp group, my WhatsApp group, where I post all my programs and research of everything that we do. The number is this. +9733360513337. That is my number. +9733360513337. If you want to be getting the real information, please go to that platform. Ifeanyi Kizito, I see you. Thank you so much, brother. I see you. I see my big man here. Thank you so much. Thank you. Just let him be. It's the first time I'm seeing him. Welcome him first, please. And his previous comment before that is okay. He won Biafra. Let us have a good mind and we move together. So on that, victory or Google. I see you. Thank you. We are diving into today's program fully, so listen. Our headline today is why Biafra has never come. Is because of what? Biafra is delayed to be a nation over 57 years of ignorance of international law and redeclaration. You look at that comment you capture the headline very well. Biafra is delayed to be a nation over 57 years of ignorance of international law and the world redeclaration that took place on November the 20th, 1924. That is why we have wasted 57 years. The program will be short. This particular one is the second one we belong. So let's go on to the program, please. Let's go on. Bear with me as we are moving right to the program. What I want to do this moment is this. Why Biafra has been delayed and why the lack of government in exile, that government organization that transition to government in exile and issue a peaceful declaration is why Biafra has never come. That is why it has been delayed for 57 years of our ignorance against international law, we claim we are doing it well. Why what we are doing is illegal? Why what we are doing is illegality? Why what we are doing is not in the line how Biafra will be a country? So listen to this. Please hit the like button, please.
In international law, the structural shift from operating as an organization, NGO, political front, or liberation movement, to formalizing a government in exile is a critical pivot. Remaining trapped in the structure of an organization while attempting to assert statehood, sovereignty, or self-determination creates serious legal vulnerabilities and liabilities. Here is a breakdown of why delaying this transition ignores international law, the dangers it poses to organizations, and the specific UN Charter articles that govern these mechanics. 1. Why remaining an organization is a liability under international law. Under international law, an organization or movement is not a subject of international law possessing sovereign rights. It is merely a political or legal entity operating under the domestic laws of a host state. The trap of domestic jurisdiction. If you remain an organization, you are legally subject to the national laws of the country where you are registered or operating. This means your host government can dissolve you, seize your assets, or restrict your speech at any time. You have no sovereign immunity, the illegal combatant or subversive risk. If an organization attempts to exercise governance, control territory, or issue decrees without transitioning into a state structure, like a government in exile, it can easily be criminalized by an adversary as an illegal insurgent group, terrorist entity, or rogue organization rather than a legitimate belligerent or authority. No access to international forums. Organizations cannot sign treaties, cannot formally challenge a state at the International Court of Justice, ICJ, and cannot claim state immunity. 2. Why a government in exile and peaceful redeclaration matters. Transitioning into a government in exile and issuing a peaceful redeclaration is a formal claim to statehood under the criteria established by the Montevideo Convention, 1933, which forms the bedrock of customary international law on statehood. A government in exile argues that the state exists, but its government has been temporarily displaced or suppressed by illegal force or occupation. Preservation of sovereignty. Sovereignty belongs to the people and the state, not the occupying force. A government in exile serves as the legal caretaker of that sovereignty. The danger of delay. If a displaced population or occupied territory waits too long without declaring a continuous government or reclaiming sovereignty, the international community may view the situation as acquiescence, implied consent to the status quo or the occupying power's control. 3. Key UN Charter articles and legal pillars. To anchor your legal arguments, these are the exact articles and resolutions from the UN system that dictate self-determination, statehood, and the rights of peoples over non-state entities. Article 1, Paragraph 2. The foundation of self-determination. To develop friendly relations among nations based on respect for the principle of equal rights and self-determination of peoples. Legal meaning. This elevates self-determination from a political concept to a binding principle of international law. However, the UN protects peoples seeking self-determination. An organization is merely an instrument. The ultimate goal under Article 1.2 must be the realization of a political status, statehood, or autonomy, which a government in exile formally embodies. Chapter 11, Articles 73 and 74. Non-self-governing territories. Article 73. Members of the United Nations which have or assume responsibilities for the administration of territories whose peoples have not yet attained a full measure of self-government recognize the principle that the interests of the inhabitants of these territories are paramount. Legal meaning. This outlines the sacred trust of administering powers. Crucially, Article 73b mandates the development of self-government and free political institutions. Remaining a permanent organization, instead of establishing a provisional government, actively delays the fulfillment of this article. Article 2, Paragraph 4 and 7, the shields of sovereignty. Article 2.4 prohibits the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state. If a state was illegally occupied, a government in exile relies on Article 2.4 to argue that the occupier's administration is void ab initio, invalid from the start. Article 2.7 prevents the UN from intervening in matters within the domestic jurisdiction of states. This is the double-edged sword. If you are just an organization, a hostile state can claim that treating or suppressing your organization is purely a domestic police matter under Article 2.7. If you claim statehood via a government in exile, you pull the dispute out of their domestic hands and into the international arena. Summary of the legal strategy. Entity status. Legal jurisdiction. International standing. Danger level. Organization/NGO. Host country's domestic law, non-state actor, no treaty power, high, can be dissolved, banned, or treated as subversives. Government in exile, international law, claimed subject of international law, can receive formal recognition, protected, asserts continuous state sovereignty to prevent legal forfeiture. When an entity delays declaring a government in exile, it chooses to remain a corporate or civil entity under domestic law rather than stepping into its identity as a sovereign international peer.
I hope you are listening. You know, we have wasted time for Biafra. And we on that spot because Nigeria government with British map out that in 2040, nobody will protest on the street or talk about Biafra again. 2040, nobody will protest or talk about Biafra again because it's over long due not to talk about it. It's that everything has limits, everything has time, everything has when it happens, and we're supposed to take it from you. But in our own eyes, it looks like, oh, we can agitate for over a million years. No. You can be an organization. Yes. Every country in this world started with the name of organization. The only man in this world that did not start with the name of organization is Chukwuemeka Odumegwu, direct with the name of the country and walk straight away without planning it. It's part of why we lose it. Said what? It's part of why we lose it. Because of no planning. That is what Nankano said. We need to prepare ourselves more than the way we are before. And how do we prepare ourselves? He formed the organization, said a time will come when we are going to form government in exile. I want to ask you, did you hear from Mazen Nandekano saying that a time will come when we form government in exile? I'm asking you, do you ever hear from Mazen Nandekano mentioning that a time will come when we are going to form government in exile? Do you ever hear that? Where is the government in exile? And what is the work of government in exile? The work of government in exile is to take over the territory in exile. To take over the territory first in exile. By how? By issue a standard peaceful redeclaration that international law gives you a support and backup. And in all words of Mazen Nandekano, we have all agreed that all these prophets has been fulfilled. Then forming government in exile is not among the prophecy. I ask, forming government in exile is not among the fulfillment of the words of Holy One, Mazen Nandekano. And the question should be, why did he mention government in exile? He mentioned government in exile because we know that IPOB as organization does not have legal backup to restore Biafra as a country. That Biafra will restore as a country through a structured official government in exile. Do you understand clearly? And I ask this question again. I want to answer me. Forming a government in exile, and that when a woman in America joins the movement of Biafra has come, I want to ask you, has those words has never been also been fulfilled? If you believe in USB, I'm asking you that believe with me. We have the same belief. Prophecy of Mazen Nandekano, forming government in exile. Prophecy of when a woman in America joins the movement that Biafra has come. Today, those prophecies, have they been fulfilled? If this prophecy has been fulfilled, what are you doing? So you are against the prophet of Mazen Nandekano. Okay, you choose those that favored you, those that you like, and leave those that you did not like, right? Because of you are not the one who went in exile. I'm not say the word there that the government in exile will be formed when the people give the mandate, but he's not going to say it now. That if he says it now, that the enemies will sabotage it. I ask you, did you hear such a word from Mazi Nnamdi? That is my question to you. And if those words is from Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, those two words I mentioned now, form government in exile, when a woman in America joins this movement to feel that Biafra has come, this prophecy, these two prophecies, have they been fulfilled? I am asking in the comment section. This prophecy of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, or this word coming from his mouth, has this word been fulfilled? If you don't know that this word has been fulfilled, you are not following. And you are listening to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu from one ear here to the other one, it goes out. And you never, after program, try to meditate the words of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. You see why Biafra has delayed to come? Because of our ignorance. I am going to prove it backup laws. I'm going to what we have supposed to be done for over 30 years. That we never did that. And that is why Biafra is being delayed. Biafra is being delayed because of things that we're supposed to do for over 30 years. We never did them. We have allowed those things to linger for 27 years. We're also going to see the danger of being an organization without transition government in exile if you want a lost country or if you want a new nation. When it's come to the law to have Biafra as a country, we all, through IPOB organization, has been this ignorance of this law, how Biafra should be a country. There is a law not written by us. The law is not us to come, it's not command and control. The law is you must check the law. How did the Namibia succeed from South Africa? How did the Algeria succeed from France and become a full nation? You must look at how did Ethiopia succeed after they lost their country. You must look at Eritrea. You must look at Zambia, Guinea-Bissau, Mozambique. Every country in Africa, there is law that made them to become a country. It's not by their own law for recognition. It's about the principle, the coexist or the protocol or the template of the international law is how they become a country. And because we refuse to implement this law, we refuse to adopt this law, we refuse to use this template. That is why Biafra has never become a country. And this time that we are into, calling on you to remind you, to bring you out to understand that now that we have come to the stage where Biafra has become a country. Thank you so much, my brother from India. Please, like I said, I want you to contact me. I have a brother, my own blood brother is in India. I want to send you a message to him. Please. Mazi, please. Yes, I will play the audio again. You know how I do it here? 2 times I will play the research of these UN charters and articles, Montevideo Convention. This is law that we prove. That is the law that's supposed to back us up, that could have given us Biafra for over 30 years. But we are ignorant of this law until November 2 be a form government in exile 2023. Until we form officially registered government in exile. That is when we are no longer in the ignorance of law. The ignorance of law is why many Biafrans are in prison, is why many has been died. Do you also know that this our protest of 1 million men march of the Biafra land and all this over long time awareness is ignorance of the law? Because of we are ignorant of international law, we never understand that there is no amount of protest that will make the world to call you and say, come and take your country. There is no how you will be an organization that you will sign treaty, you will sign agreement, diplomatic movement. It's not for organization. It's only for state to state. And the only way to prove it is through a government in exile that issued official redeclaration of a lost country. So listen to the audio again before we analyze all this UN charter.
In international law, the structural shift from operating as an organization, NGO, political front or liberation movement, to formalizing a government in exile is a critical pivot. Remaining trapped in the structure of an organization while attempting to assert statehood, sovereignty, or self-determination creates serious legal vulnerabilities and liabilities. Here is a breakdown of why delaying this transition ignores international law, the dangers it poses to organizations.
Are you hearing it? Why delaying on this is danger of ignorance of international law. Why we are ignoring the international law through being an organization under IPOB and also through the European organization for a long time for under BRIGI. There is danger on it. This our ignorance has danger. The danger, what I told you, that the danger could lead to nobody will talk about Biafra in 2040. And Chukwuka has done it well for us. Are you following?
And the specific UN Charter articles that govern these mechanics. 1. Why remaining an organization is a liability under international law. Under international law, an organization or movement is not a subject of international law possessing sovereign rights. It is merely a political or legal entity operating under the domestic laws of a host state. The trap of domestic jurisdiction. If you remain an organization, you are legally subject to the national laws of the country where you are registered or operating. This means your host government can dissolve you, seize your assets, or restrict your speech at any time. You have no sovereign immunity, the illegal combatant or subversive risk. If an organization attempts to exercise governance, control territory, or issue decrees without transitioning into a state structure, like a government in exile, it can easily be criminalized by an adversary as an illegal insurgent group, terrorist entity, or rogue organization rather than a legitimate belligerent or authority. No access to international forums. Organizations cannot sign treaties, cannot formally challenge a state at the International Court of Justice, ICJ, and cannot claim state immunity. 2. Why a government in exile and peaceful redeclaration matters. Transitioning into a government in exile and issuing a peaceful redeclaration is a formal claim to statehood under the criteria established by the Montevideo Convention, 1933, which forms the bedrock of customary international law on statehood. A government in exile argues that the state exists, but its government has been temporarily displaced or suppressed by illegal force or occupation. Preservation of sovereignty. Sovereignty belongs to the people and the state, not the occupying force. A government in exile serves as the legal caretaker of that sovereignty. The danger of delay. If a displaced population or occupied territory waits too long without declaring a continuous government or reclaiming sovereignty, the international community may view the situation as acquiescence, implied consent to the status quo or the occupying power's control. 3. Key UN Charter articles and legal pillars. To anchor your legal arguments, these are the exact articles and resolutions from the UN system that dictate self-determination, statehood, and the rights of peoples over non-state entities. Article 1, Paragraph 2. The foundation of self-determination. To develop friendly relations among nations based on respect for the principle of equal rights and self-determination of peoples. Legal meaning. This elevates self-determination from a political concept to a binding principle of international law. However, the UN protects people seeking self-determination. An organization is merely an instrument. The ultimate goal under Article 1.2 must be the realization of a political status, statehood, or autonomy, which a government in exile formally embodies. Chapter 11, Articles 73 and 74. Non-self-governing territories. Article 73. Members of the United Nations which have or assume responsibilities for the administration of territories whose peoples have not yet attained a full measure of self-government recognize the principle that the interests of the inhabitants of these territories are paramount. Legal meaning. This outlines the sacred trust of administering powers. Crucially, Article 73b mandates the development of self-government and free political institutions. Remaining a permanent organization, instead of establishing a provisional government, actively delays the fulfillment of this article. Article 2, Paragraph 4 and 7, the shields of sovereignty. Article 2.4 prohibits the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state. If a state was illegally occupied, A government in exile relies on Article 2.4 to argue that the occupier's administration is void ab initio, invalid from the start. Article 2.7 prevents the UN from intervening in matters within the domestic jurisdiction of states. This is the double-edged sword. If you are just an organization, a hostile state can claim that treating or suppressing your organization is purely a domestic police matter under Article 2.7. If you claim statehood via a government in exile, you pull the dispute out of their domestic hands and into the international arena. Summary of the legal strategy: entity status, legal jurisdiction, international standing, danger level, organization/NGO, host country's domestic law, non-state actor, no treaty power, high, can be dissolved, banned, or treated as subversives. Government in exile, international law, claimed subject of international law, can receive formal recognition, protected, asserts continuous state sovereignty to prevent legal forfeiture. When an entity delays declaring a government in exile, it chooses to remain a corporate or civil entity under domestic law rather than stepping into its identity as a sovereign international peer.
I hope you followed and you listened. Now, like I said, we are going to go into proper analysis of this law so you will understand over long time agitation, being into organization has become a problem of this. That is why you see many saboteurs around us. The delay causes damage. And also cause damage because of what? Because of we lack international guideline. That is why. Yeah, my brother, I understand. The person I'm telling you is my own blood brother. It can't be your enemies. That is right. That's why I said you have to. That's why I called number. Contact me. We will talk. We have enemies everywhere. Even in this country, where I have enemies also. But does it stop me? That's how it's no. So, based on that direct, the England Biafra is delayed to be a nation. Over 57 years of ignorance of international law and redeclaration. If you go down to this thing, you will see description, you will see complete ignorance of words, international law, redeclaration, government in exile. This is why Biafra is never a country, because of we are not on this legal path. Our ignorance, our Moodism is too much. But Obatobius, Simon Banjok remove us from that ignorance, remove us from the Moodism, and put us on a legal track, how Biafra will become a nation. International law, the structure shift from operating as an organization, NGO, political front or liberation movement, to formalize a government in exile is a critical pivot. Remaining transported into structure of an organization while attempting to assert what? Statehood. You have a nation that is holding for recognition. Sovereignty or self-determination creates a serious legal viability and the liability. Now, government in exile is visibility. Why organization of NGO that refuse to transition is what? Is liability into what we are doing. IPOB is liability, MASOB is liability, BGC, fake fallback brigade, the automobile mechanic government in exile of Ogen, their name is what? The name of the government is what? Automobile mechanic government in exile, Ogen Kerie /Parawa. These are criminals. Here is breakdown of why delaying this transition, ignorance of international law, the danger it poses to organizations, and the specific UN Charter articles that govern this mechanism. There is UN Charter and article that govern having Biafra as a country, but do not govern organization. The transition. When you ignore the transition, there is a law And that is how the law will be used against you. The law will be controlling you like a baby. The organization has to transition into a full structured government in exile. I said what? Into a full structured government in exile. This is how the organization is going to transition and become a full nation. Not by protest, not by rally, not by 1 million men march, not by organization. They say that for us to refuse to transition, that we are implementing more danger to us. But when you in transition, you break up and quench the danger and also put yourself on a track of the legal rights. Our ignorance of this international law is why we are wallowing around in many countries and doing 1 million men march, doing protests here and there and talking trash, because of we lack the international law of what? How Biafra will be a country. Where we are this time is that we are no longer lacking under international law, and we are no longer proving the ignorance of law. That's why the world refused to come. Now that we are not proving, now we are proving that we have understand it and we are on the legal path and we are no longer ignorance of the law. It is very obvious and very powerful and plain that the world will listen to us. Because for you to have every country in the world, there is a time America was like us. There is a time France fought their own. Every country fought to where they are today. And after fighting, after doing the things, they came back to meet all the international criteria before they become countries. Now, here is breakdown of why delaying this transition into exile, into government in exile, into issue a peaceful declaration that took place on November 20, 2024, the November 29, 2024, by our DPM, Dr. Musa Rabeze, is the only remedy into what we are doing. And that is how we uplifted ourselves all from the ignorance back to law. Because when you know law, there is no way you will be wallowing on the ignorance of the law. That is why whenever we come here, we bring fact and figure to you. Moreover, those areas that we have been lacking since all these years, it is very important that we do so. Please, 1 minute. It is very, very important that we listen to the world and listen to how every other countries achieve their own. How every other countries achieve their own country is very, very important at this time. And that is where we are. That is why USB declared is the only option we have and the only thing that will give us Biafra as a country. It is very, very important for us to do so. It's not about how you feel. It's not about how we think. It's how we feel and what we think. And the emotion is the ignorance that is holding Biafra as a country. Please listen to this as I pick up a call from office, please.
In international law, the structural shift from operating as an organization, NGO, political front or liberation movement, to formalizing a government in exile is a critical pivot. Remaining trapped in the structure of an organization while attempting to assert statehood, sovereignty, or self-determination creates serious legal vulnerabilities and liabilities. Here is a breakdown of why delaying this transition ignores international law, the dangers it poses to organizations, and the specific UN Charter articles that govern these mechanics. 1. Why remaining an organization is a liability under international law. Under international law, an organization or movement is not a subject of international law possessing sovereign rights. It is merely a political or legal entity operating under the domestic laws of a host state. The trap of domestic jurisdiction. If you remain an organization, you are legally subject to the national laws of the country where you are registered or operating. This means your host government can dissolve you, seize your assets, or restrict your speech at any time. You have no sovereign immunity, the illegal combatant or subversive risk. If an organization attempts to exercise governance, control territory, or issue decrees without transitioning into a state.
Yes, we are coming to that. Sorry for that 1 minute because of the call come from our office. So I need to answer to know what is going on. So, based on where we are, you can see what the word is telling us. And now I want to take your mind to what Obato Obie said. Obato Obie said that a road to achieve Biafra is in the open. But a road to achieve Biafra under IPOB is not open. It's being blocked. It's being hid. Now, when you listen to these laws that has already been there before we start fighting this movement, now, if you follow this law, don't you think that that road, what Obato Obie said, is truth? That a road to achieve Biafra is in the open. But it's the open on the side of the legal, not in the side of what we feel, who we love, who we choose. No, it is who the Lord choose. It's how the Lord will be treating us. It's how the Lord will justify everything that we're going to do. Is the main deal. Our emotion, our feelings, are who we love, who we hate, who we don't want, who we are here 100 years and you just come. It does not matter. What matters is who just come and maintain the legal part of how Biafra will be restored as a country, which is what our DPM is doing through the movement of Obato Obie, Simon and Joko. Now, let's continue. Number one, why remaining as an organization is liability under international law. Why remaining as an IPOB organization, as a BRIGI, as a CRC, as a PUC, as a CCC, as a DDD, whatever you may claim today, call it a name. Why remaining as an organization is liability under international law. Remaining as organization is what is said, that this is what liability. We are IPOB is a liability to the world. They are liability to the world. IPOB organization. BRIG liability. 419. BGC liability. CRC liability. Those things did not suit on international law. And that is only why it has never come. And now that we have moved on the side of the international law, you can see that Biafra is here with you as a country. Can you understand it clearly? This is what we need to do. This is why we will never become a country. And today, we are on that track. I said what? We are on that track. We are on that legal. We are no longer liability under international laws that protect and give us how the power, the backup for us to move with our government in exile to win it on the paper first before winning it on the ground. Signing treaty is paper. Hey, you declare a country in paper. Yes, to sign treaty is in paper. To diplomatic work is in paper, not on land, not in the hall meeting. To sign anything about organization, you will sign it on the paper. That's why UN said, Shatta said, we have to win on the paper first before win on the ground. Once you lost the country and you issue a peaceful redeclaration of the lost country, that you have to go through paperwork. And through this paperwork is where USB is piloting us right now. And those that ignorance of the law, and the law is in paper. Is it not true? Law is where in paper. And this law that is in paper is what we are ignorant of it. And today, you are ignorant by saying that the document is paper. Yes, it's paper. And the paper rules the world. The paper governs the world. big and paper govern this world before laptop, before phone. Don't you understand it? Don't you understand it clearly? Now, listen. Under international law, an organization or a movement is not subject of international law process sovereign rights. An organization like IPOB, like BRIGI, like CRC, like BGC, like you go 247, like that your Ramjo, the Pole woman in France, like all these organizations, like Ekwenche, like whatever they call themselves, like Veteran, the veteran in America, like 100 Men, all are fools and ignorance of the law of over 57 years. Over 57 years of ignorance is what is disturbing them. They ignore the law ignore us. And by the law ignore, that is why we are being buried and nobody's doing anything about it. That is why we are being massacred. Nobody's doing anything about it. That is why we are being massacred and nothing is going on, nothing is happening until US will declare that everything has brought in line to change. Under international law, an organization or movement is not a subject of international law process sovereign right. They do not have the process of a sovereign right. And there is no legal backup for IPOB, for BRIGI, for BGC, for CRC. It is only US will declare is the one that has this legal right, and that we are no longer in the lack of the under the ignoramus of the law and the claim that we know it all. Why we know nothing? A black man brain is not in the law. It is merely a political or legal entity operating under the domestic law of a whole state. When you are an organization like IPOB, like BRIGI, you are operating under domestic law. BRIGI as an organization, if you are, that is where we are operating under the domestic law of America, not international law. Because they said here, where you register the organization is the law of that country govern you, their local law, their own personal law, not the secular law of the international will govern you. Now, when you remove from that part, going down to Nigeria, IPOB and Martin and Khan is in Nigeria, right? And that is where it's being formed, right? That's why it's in UK in 2012, but it is an organization that operates under Nigerian government. That is why they have right to do whatever they want to do to those who claim IPOB to this day. That's why when we're in IPOB, we come out for protest, they will massacre us, they will buy us, they will do us all kind of things and all manner of things because of it is an organization. The state law of Nigeria is what they use to judge any member of IPOB and proving that you are under the law of Nigeria. We are going to understand when the game changes that we are no longer under the law of any country. As about to be a rush to register BRIGI and the rush to issue declaration for him to operate under international law. The redeclaration of USB is what moves us to not to operate under American law. Now, operating of USB based on international law standard and on the legal principle. This is where we are. The trump of domestic jurisdiction. The trump of domestic jurisdiction. Nigerian government set a trump for us. Let's find out. If you remain as an organization, you are legally subject to the national law of the country where you are registered or operating. He said a tramp. IPOB is a tramp. That is why Nigeria keep on dividing them, forming difference from one to another to continue to trap them down and use their law that deal with all of them. Listen to here again. The tramp of domestic jurisdiction. If you remain as an organization, you are legally subject to the national law of the court where you registered or operating from. If you're an organization, about to be registered brigade, Biafra Republic in Exile as organization first. And he said that why register this is for us to transition and to issue a peaceful redeclaration of our lost country. That until we have the document, minus that, we are just making noise. Every country in Africa have this document. America have their own. Over 56 men signed America own. Before Morocco in Africa, we grant America first recognition ever in the world. The first country that I said that America is a country, that America signed treaty with is a country called Morocco in Africa. There was the first country after America declaration of the 1776. After a year and 6 months of recognition from America, Morocco was the first country ever that get that immunity to recognize America. You are seeing. So America, do you know that Morocco seniors America at age of country? Morocco in Africa seniors America in age of country. And that Morocco is one that grants American recognition before France now seconded it, and the France now give them weapon for them to protect and chase away British in their territory. It's never be an easy game. It's never be an easy game. Please, I don't know why you are stingy to like the program. If you never like the program, I want you to like and share the program, please. Amaj, you are here today. Thank you so much. Philip Oforge, thank you. Obonaya, thank you. I see all your comments. Thank you so much for coming. Please, I urge you to hit the like button so people will know that we are live. The like is too poor. And you know, when you like and keep on commenting, YouTube will flagging the message or lifting the message so people know we are live and we are direct. So I don't know what is holding you to like and share. This like is not even one from your hand. But it's whether through that is how you are making the message, so other people will see the message. This means your host government can dissolve you. Seize your assets or restrict you from speech at any time. You have no sovereign immunity as an organization. The trump of the domestic jurisdiction. If you remain as an organization, you are you are under the country where you registered or operate. This means your host country government, the host government can dissolve you, seize your assets, or restrict you from speech at any time. You have no sovereign immunity. When you remain under IPOB, that is why the government trying to restrict Mazi Nnamdi Kanu from speaking. After the president released him, they told him, do not stand where you have 10 people. And what happened? Mazi Nnamdi Kanu did what? Violate all these laws. That is the program of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in 2014, I think so. That is one of his programs in 2014. Let me see if I can find that program. I want to connect to something there. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu 2014. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu 2014 broadcast. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu 2014 broadcast. Let me see if I can find that program. There's a specific program where he said that he violated every law of to speak out. Let me see if
wherever you are on this planet.
And then they stayed with it, and then
The payroll of Hausa Fulani people. The professor himself, Webeze, lives in Lagos. This is Radio Biafra. The truth must be spoken at all times.
1 minute. I want to be sure.
Mrs. Maria Oko, Chifenechi Onyam, Mr. Chris Okoye Elio.
1 minute. I want to connect something to you.
To be a follower of the great prophet, who he thinks is the greatest among all messengers of God. I am always a curious person and studied different religions. When I found the life of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, very inspiring. Biafra is on live transmission. Tell your phone and all the rest of them. It could be your laptop, anything at all. Please go to associated with it. Are also reporting to the hearing of 1914 was intended to benefit the British. Its goal was solely to reduce colonial administration costs by consolidating the two civil service operations of the northern and southern protectorates into one. Frederick Lugard, the Scottish man, the architect of the amalgamation, was an unapologetic advocate of colonial grandeur and a fervent believer in British imperialism. In other words, everything in Africa is like death. That is the meaning of British imperialism, that the white people are superior to black monkeys from Africa. Frederick Lugard was a believer in it. That is why I refer to people from Nigeria as monkeys. That is why Nigeria is a zoo, because Lugard himself is an arch-imperialist. They believe in the supremacy of the white race over the black race. So if you believe in Nigeria, indeed you are a monkey for certain, because a man that believed you are a monkey created you. He made you Nigeria, not God. We must continue. I will repeat. Frederick Lugard, the architect of the amalgamation, was an unapologetic advocate of colonial grandeur and a fervent believer in British imperialism. Lugard served as a colonial administrator in Nigeria, Hong Kong, and Uganda, spreading his imperialist ideas and dutifully serving his king wherever he went. Like most of the colonial actors of that period, Lugard was insultingly paternalistic. In his book, The Dual Mandate in British Tropical Africa, Lugard likened the virtues and defects of this race-type Africans to those of attractive children. That was how he regarded all of you. Those of you that believe in one Nigeria, Lugard said you're like a bunch of playing attractive children. He was playing the role of Jesus Christ. Let the children come around me to play. And that is why we're still playing today. But this time around with human lives, very costly. We are playing with the future of children, even those unborn. Anybody calling him or herself a Nigerian is beneath contempt. Thus, being outside is better than you. You are not a human being and you do not deserve any respect, because the man that created you, the man that made you, said you are like a bunch of children. You are monkeys. He's an imperialist. He is a racist. He believed that white people are superior to black people. That is why you have that useless name, nigger area, an area full of niggers, full of people who cannot reason.
That is why Siomo Okoma, Bryce Okoma is bringing a wife to deceive you. You see, all these that are championing white men for you, that is the supremacy. The white man sees you as a fool. That is how Oeleya sees Ogenkere, as a mugu. As an animal, he can control and make his money. That is why whenever you tell a white man his history, he will tell you that I am not here for you to lecture me. They don't see you as someone who can tell them their history, but they want to tell you, they want to control you. So you see this damage control of Bryce Okoma, Siomo Okoma, to make money with them of Simon and bringing a white man lawyer and the man Maduabu. These are fraudsters. These are criminals. That white man's supremacy is what USD will end. The time has come for us to tell them that we know what they know. We need to recreate our brain. We need to rethink. It is open everywhere that there is no international lawyer from anywhere who will flee to Finland to talk about Simon Ekpa's case. You can only give advice. And that advice is not necessary because you must give advice in the language of Finland. The same way, no lawyer, no barrister international will travel to Nigeria to discuss about Mazi Nnamdi to free him. What they are doing is our people understand, oh, yeah, he bring a white lawyer. He's a good man. The white lawyer who is a good man, any white man who stand with Ogen Kere, with Bryce Nokoma, with Imam Madrabo and Shamaka Ajere, all these are white criminal people that claims primacy of white color. Tell me that they know it more than you. Because of what? You don't research, you don't read, you like to hear say, he talk like this, it's not like this. That's one thing we like so much.
That is why you're Nigeria, why you don't have any light, why you don't have any good roads, why the education system is crumbling, why you gave us Omar Diko. That is why you produce the likes of Awolowo. That is why you have the likes of Buhari. You have them Dangote. Feudalism merging with monarchy, merging with republicanism. That is why you cannot move forward until the day you die and they bury you, because your life is useless, because you're a Nigerian. Passengers going back to their various working places from the eastern part of the zoo. We are stranded in different loading parks in Southeast states following a sharp increase in transportation fares. It is called demand and supply. If you go home in large numbers, the only way to regulate those going will be to hike up the fares. It is pure economics, demand and supply. You are going back.
Yeah, please. I want to, because I have got the program I'm looking for. So Mazi Nnamdi Kanu speaks. When he thought about, they tried to stop him. Like what's this law we're reading today proving here? That the state will like to stop you, that they will close your asset, they will stop you from speaking out. I want to back it up with the voice of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. So you is that this thing is why Nigerian government is what they are doing. They want always to silence the voice of our leader, like the way they want to silence the voice of Mazi Simon Ekpa Joko, but they never knew that they are coming to the end of the road for them. They never knew that this will be the end of the road, that Chukwu Okayom has already ordained that Biafra should be a country. That is where we are today. So let me check and see the program of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu February broadcast. February 15th, 2021 broadcast. I am looking for that program. Let me see if that is.
Things are happening all over Biafra land, but before we proceed, we must, of course, pray. Because the end SARS protest, Mark II, that should have happened at Lekki. And I say it this day, as I say it always, anybody who understands how we preach our gospel by now would come to the appreciation that we do not hide from speaking the truth. Lekki Phase 2 end SARS protest collapsed because Nigerian media have succeeded in creating a generation of cowards. That is why the Fulani can brazenly stand up and attempt to change the narrative.
I'm 45, and I'm not a native speaker.
That is advert. Please, 1 minute.
That is why every major country in the world has a stake in Biafra land, be it in oil or in gas. Instead of them to speak the truth, Ajib will call up and say, oh, please remember the investment here. We are taking oil for free. Remember that? And they will turn the truth upside down. And you think we are going to tolerate that rubbish? We would all rather die than allow Fulani to take our land from us. I'm telling you, before God and man, it can never happen. It cannot happen. We will turn this world upside down. They will see something they've not seen before. All of you were there. You're claiming you're human beings. You claim you have brain. They are busy replacing your leaders, giving you idiots that will support them. Exactly what Afonja did in Kwara State, in Ilorin, is something they are doing. Some of you, you read history, but you don't make meaning. You don't make any meaning out of it. Black people, and you wonder why Africa is poor. You wonder why black people are poor and wretched all over the world. By some few individualized brilliance, so to say, we would have been lower than animals. I'm telling you this. Have you not seen it? All over the world, are we doing well anyway? All around the world, is that not the truth? Is that not the truth? Even those who are doing well, a white person gave them the opportunity to do well. A white person gave them the space to do well. Are you telling me if it were to be Africa that
one place I am looking
forget about his limitations? That very gospel that will lead us from bondage into freedom, from slavery into emancipation. We are here to preach it unashamedly. Once again, if you're joining us for the very first time, you cannot do anything that others can never do, not even dream of doing, because the grace of the Almighty is upon us. I can preach this very gospel all the days of my life. What happened at Lekki, and I say it this day, as I say it always, and who turn this world upside down. There was a father in a farm, and I'm telling you, you can no longer stay in that farm anymore. You are a terrorist and you're a murderer. You will turn around and tell me, is your everybody has right to be everywhere. Did I not warn you before? That is what they will say. They will bring Britain in, and I'm warning Yorubas today. They will come to your land. They will take your forest. Britain will step in and tell you you are all Nigerians. And I'm telling you, that one Nigeria you were defending before is going to kill you. It will kill you. Yeah. One Nigeria. One Nigeria. They are building their settlement in your forest. Under one, because they are Nigerians, you cannot ask them to go. Britain will come and tell you, okay, where do you want them to go? Where do you want them to go? Then you are all Nigerians, live in peace, multi-ethnicity, multiculturalism, multi-rubbish. And then you are all gone and your land is finished. Anybody preaching one Nigeria is a demented animal.
Okay, there is a particular program on this particular session. Honestly, I can't get it right now. I have listened to that program. That is why I saved this video for today's program, but we will get back to that. So let us quickly transition to where we are on the program we are doing. In the program we are doing, what brings me to here is what this law said. The danger when you remain as an organization like IPOB, like BGC, like CRC, like PUK, whatever you like, those like veteran in Americas. When you remain like those organizations, there is danger, there is a limit. And the danger and the limit relies on a country where you are. In the case or the case of Biafra, we are fighting it out of Nigerian government, right? So when they grab any of us, they will use that to judge us. Because of what? The name of the organization that we are using. Whether I like it or not, IPOB is what an organization. What is an organization is the citizen or the world indigenous people of United States of Biafra. In the new, in the old, indigenous people of Republic of Biafra. This is what I want to understand clearly. So let's listen to here again. The trap that's being set by Nigeria government. The trap that is being set by Nigeria government is what is very important for us to listen, and why they want us to remain as an organization, why they try to use Oge Nkere, Chiamaka Jere, Imam Maduabu, Bryce Nokoma, Sonia Akwarawa to stop our US declared. Why they want to use them? is for us to remain under organization so that Nigeria can use their law to be treating us anytime they arrest us. And in any country where we are, they will also use that country local law to hold us down, like they did in Finland. But instead they refuse to understand the difference between IPOB and the Biafra government in exile. Finland, they refuse to understand the difference between organization called IPOB and the Biafra government in exile. They are not the same thing. They are two different categories under the international law. Before we finish this program, if you have a true mind and you tell yourself the truth, then you will understand this clearly. Now, if you remain as an organization, you are legally subject to the national law of the country where you are registered or operating from. This means your host government can dissolve you, seize your assets, or resist you from speech at any time. You have no sovereign immunity as an organization. Now, you see why the government is trying to stop anything that we are doing. Now, you see why the government is trying to put an end by arresting Mazin and they can try to silence the voice and stop the voice from speaking. That wasn't enough for them. They also, Simon Ekpa came out, they're trying to silence him and stop. Oge Nkere, Sonia Akwarawa, Imam Maduabo, Bryce Nokoma, Shioma Okoma, that was being used against our freedom, obviously declared by government of Nigeria, trying to stop the election. After that, have taken our DPM to court to silence the voice again. But what they didn't know is bigger than them, and they did not understand that the legal right can never, with legal right, you always win illegality. Please hit the like button if you never do so. That is how you help in the message. That is for you to understand that IPOB lack the immunity of a sovereign state, sovereign immunity. And as we are going, who has this sovereign immunity is what we'll find out. Now, the legal combatant or survival risk, the legal combatant and what? Or, sorry, the illegal combatant or survival risk. Now, if an organization attempts to exercise governance, if an organization attempts to exercise the right of governance, control territory, or issue decree without transition into a structured like a government in exile, if IPOB is trying to control territory, if BGC, CRC, PUK, DDD, Kyo, all these organizations that have been coming out today that you are seeing all over, they are all what? They call the number one liability. They said here, number one, why remain as an organization is a liability under international law. Are you listening to that? Now, why that? They look at what they said here. If an organization attempts to exercise governance rights, control territory, or issue decree without transition, without transition into a structure like a full government in exile, it can easily be criminalized by an adversary as an illegal institution group, terrorist entity, or organization rather than legitimate brilliance or authority. I hope you are following. When organizations trying to do that, they will charge you terrorists, they will charge you treason, they will charge you felony. But when you are government in exile that issue a redeclaration, that's what they call degree or declare, when you refuse to do this and you're not government in exile and try to do that, this law will be for you. But when you are transitioned into a government in exile and issue a peaceful declaration, number one, you are no longer lacking immunity of a sovereignty. Number two, nobody can call you terrorist. Nobody can call you insurgency. Nobody can charge you with treason or felony or incitement because of what? You have transitioned into a separate government of another country. Totally. That is how it begins. A child who will go to university must start from primary school or not. Is it not true? So you have to start from somewhere to be on a legal path. And 2 years already declared, we are on this legal path at this stage. Now, let's continue. It can easily be criminalized by an adversary as an illegal institution group. Now, when you're not legal of the local country where you are without transition, you will be now did what? Illegal group like IPOB. IPOB is illegal. IPOB is liability. Take it or you leave it. That's why I said I challenge you, none of them to come. Let us do debate. Let us debate what we are doing. I was once a full member of IPOB Oteka in 2014. How many years? But I find out there is a way that Biafra should be a country, that our ignorance of 57 years is under international law and under the declaration of a country is why Biafra has never come. But starting from November 29, we have made a standard and we are no longer ignorance of this law. No access to international funds. There is no access for international. That is why they allow us to be paid. That's why they allow people to be arrested. That is why we are going through a lot of thick and things at this stage. Until we declare it on November 29, the game has changed because a government in exile that issue a peaceful declaration is a game change. Organizations cannot sign treaty. IPOB, we send document to UN, we send to ICJ, we send to here. All this is a male story. And even if you send, they see it as an organization under self-determination that are asking the Nigerians to treat you right. Because what IPOB is sending is abuse of rights, illegal treatment is what they are sending. And that's to be released. When you are a country, government in exile, you will not be championing a cause of only to your letter to be released, but rather you will champion a cause of that you are a country. About to be use a multiple dimension. This is what IPOB don't always come out multiple dimension. When you're fighting for freedom like this, the multiple dimension is that we talk about the leader, but the first thing is what? To champion that you are a country and what we are fighting for. Do you understand it clearly? Cannot formally challenge a state at the International Court of Justice. IPOB cannot challenge Nigeria at any court in the world. I'm telling you guys the truth. With the name IPOB, IPOB cannot drag Nigeria to ICJ. If you say, let them try it. They have been trying and it's not working because they're not a state. A state answer to a state. Organization answer to organization. Do you understand this clearly? This is what it is. If APC as a political party now, IPOB is sue APC to court, they can answer because it is organization. But when it comes to a country, you must be a country to what? To challenge another country in the world. Organization cannot sign treaty. Treaty is not paper. It is. Cannot formally challenge a state at the International Court of Justice, ICJ, and they cannot claim a state's immunity on the organization. I hope you are following, and as you are listening, I will play this from the beginning. But now we are entering exactly why a government in exile and the peaceful redeclaration matters. Why a government in exile and the peaceful redeclaration matters. That's the next session. But listen to this from the beginning.
In international law, the structural shift from operating as an organization, NGO, political front or liberation movement, to formalizing a government in exile is a critical pivot. Remaining trapped in the structure of an organization while attempting to assert statehood, sovereignty, or self-determination creates serious legal vulnerabilities and liabilities. Here is a breakdown of why delaying this transition ignores international law, the dangers it poses to organizations, and the specific UN Charter articles that govern these mechanics. 1. Why remaining an organization is a liability under international law. Under international law, an organization or movement is not a subject of international law possessing sovereign rights. It is merely a political or legal entity operating under the domestic laws of a host state. The trap of domestic jurisdiction. If you remain an organization, you are legally subject to the national laws of the country where you are registered or operating. This means your host government can dissolve you, seize your assets, or restrict your speech at any time. You have no sovereign immunity, the illegal combatant or subversive risk. If an organization attempts to exercise governance, control territory, or issue decrees without transitioning into a state structure, like a government in exile, it can easily be criminalized by an adversary as an illegal insurgent group, terrorist entity, or rogue organization rather than a legitimate belligerent or authority. No access to international forums. Organizations cannot sign treaties, cannot formally challenge a state at the International Court of Justice, ICJ, and cannot claim state immunity. 2. Why a government in exile and peaceful redeclaration matters. Transitioning into a government in exile and issuing a peaceful redeclaration is a formal claim to statehood under the criteria established by the Montevideo Convention, 1933, which forms the bedrock of customary international law on statehood. A government in exile argues that the state exists, but its government has been temporarily displaced or suppressed by illegal force or occupation.
I hope you are listening. What we read so far, you can find that the organization has no backup law, only organization. Even the law is against organization. And they did not have any immunity backup. Even in the state backup, no. Immunity of a sovereignty, no. Immunity of a country, no. Organization. But look at, listen here, as we're going to analyze here properly with you. Please do me that favor of like and share, please. Or anytime you're going to watch, hit the like button. Once you like, another person is getting notification what we are doing. Why a government in exile and the peaceful redeclaration is the utmost matter. Why? This is a must matter. Listen. Transitioning into a government in exile and the issue a peaceful redeclaration is a formal claim to statehood. It is a formal claim that you are a sovereign nation. It is a formal claim that you are a country. It is a formal claim that I am here before a government in exile. Under the criteria of the established by the Montevideo Convention 1933, which formed the bedrock of the customary international law on having a country, the bedrock of having a country is being officially established on the Montevideo Convention 1933. Now, why organization has no base under all the international law? They do not have any one single base. Based on this, listen, a government in exile argued that the state exists, but the government has been temporarily displaced or suppressed by illegal force or occupation. That is what U.S. declared is claiming under international law right this time as I'm talking to you today. We are not claiming a new country. We are claiming that we have existed for 3 years or more than that. That we have also existed from the 1884 when British signed treaty with us how to manage our business and day-to-day policy and how to live. These are the areas I want you to be listening carefully about it. It's not about your emotion. It's not about how you feel. It is about legal. Legality is not about law. It's not about emotion. Legal is not about emotion. Legal is not about how you feel. Legal is not about what you think. It is the right to follow the legal proceedings so you can be able to be on a right track. Listen again. Why a government in exile and the peaceful redeclaration is most matter. Why? You know, for your own understanding as a black man, this does not matter to you. That is what the ignorance of 57 years why Biafra is not becoming a country. the redeclaration does not matter to you because of the ignorance of why Biafra has been delayed. I remember back there's the homeland at 2015, 2014, when we are singing, "Oh Biafra, why you delay?" I remember that music. I also remember when we sing, "Enyanyi Biafra, wanted to go." Nobody's giving it to you. When you are not under this legal, you are not getting anything, no backup for you, because the backup is not giving it to you. When you must put yourself on the legal part. You must prove that you understand international law and the criteria. You must prove that I am not ignorance of law. Biafra is being delayed to be a nation for over 57 years of ignorance of international law and the world, the government in exile, and the peaceful redeclaration. But now we have understand it clearly. Please, I urge you to like and share the program, please. I know it might be very early to many people, but I urge you to like and share. Just touch the like button, because that is how you encourage me. That is how the message is moving. The page is not monetized either. So like and share the program, please. Now, transition into a government in exile and the issuing a peaceful redeclaration is a formal claim to statehood under the criteria established by Montevideo Convention 1933, which is formed the bedrock of the customary international law of having a country. Now, let's proceed. Preservation of sovereignty. 1. Preservation of sovereignty. Sovereignty belongs to the people and the state, not the occupying force. A government in exile serves as the legal caretaker of the sovereignty. Government in exile serve as what? Caretaker of war. Like when you build your house, you are not there. You give someone to hold it for you. That person is being called caretaker. When you issue a peaceful declaration outside and you are not in that territory, you are caretaker waiting to return and take over. That is why the government in exile is a caretaker of a lost nation. That once that recognition of finishing of the building, they will come back and stay in their house. Is it clear to you? I hope we are making common sense. Do you understand it? Please tell me. Do we continue? Are you understanding what I'm saying? Because not to say a word or read all this. I hope you are understanding what I'm saying. I want to see if I will continue. So if nobody's understanding, no need to be in here. If you are not, do you understand? You understand what I'm doing? Are you understanding it clearly? Is it making sense to you? Do we continue? This is about okay, one person, thank you so much. I've got only one person who promised me that is very clear. Thank you for that. This is how you encourage me. This encouragement is not about money. Encouragement is about your comment. Encouragement is about you sharing the program. And when we are CC, make us to understand that it's very clear. Thank you so much. Thank you for that wonderful comment. So I will continue. Even if it's only one person tell me yes, I will continue. Because he's better. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. And now I see another comment. Thank you so much. Now, as we proceed, remember, sovereign states belong to the people and the state, not the occupying force like Nigeria government. Minosek is here. Oh, Triple M, join us today. Thank you so much. A government in exile serves as the legal caretaker of the sovereignty. Do you just say the organization is the legal caretaker? No, they said a government in exile is the legal caretaker. Now, as we proceed, you will understand that word, legal caretaker, so much. Now, the danger of delay. The danger of delaying to this, listen, if a displaced population or occupied territory waits too long without issue a declaration of a continuity government or reclaiming a sovereignty, reclaiming what? Sovereignty, may view the situation as a acquiescence implement a constant to the status quo of the occupation power control. That's why I told you I have a research I made when I read them. They said that the world or Nigeria government that Nigeria could have Islamized us time of Bulgaria. When it fell, they now proceed and set up to 2040. That by the 2040, that many people who knows about Biafra will die. The new generation doesn't know where to stand and how to get it on. Do you see why we are the one to achieve it now? Because the unborn children, imagine the 2040. So that by then, nobody will know about Biafra again. They will tell these people that protest, stop making noise and go inside. And they will use local law to chase all of them away. Starting from British, we started first in 2040. In 2040. And this is 2026. You know how many we're talking about more. By that time, the will and the strength to talk about Biafra has gone down. That is why they head bent to silent Mazen Nandekano as they see Simon Eba. They thought he's not serious. On the rest, that this man is serious and he knows the road. And they said, because a man said it in one of the Nigerian television, said that Biafra movement is well organized now, more than it was before. And later did that video of that man. One of the televisions in the television section in Nigeria, they made that broadcast. They said that, Biafra movement has been well organized under Simon Eba, and through a government in exile to issue a peaceful declaration more than the IPOB organization. You heard it clearly here. I hope you are listening. I will play the audio before we go into number 3, because I normally do it. So now we want to give you all the articles, all the shatters, all the law, all the paragraph that back this government in exile up.
In international law, the structural shift from operating as an organization, NGO, political front or liberation movement, to formalizing a government in exile is a critical pivot. Remaining trapped in the structure of an organization while attempting to assert statehood, sovereignty, or self-determination creates serious legal vulnerabilities and liabilities. Here is a breakdown of why delaying this transition ignores international law, the dangers it poses to
Do you hear this word? The danger of ignoring international law. The danger of what? Our ignorance on international law. No, it's not Maxwell. It's somebody on either a Rise television or somewhere. One person like that also who said that Biafra has been well structured and organized. That's Simon Eba. It's not him. I've got the name of the man because he just made it on a broadcast or on an interview they grant him, and he said that word. You never know when he said it. After that, what happened? Nigeria government decided to delete that particular section of the program.
And the specific UN Charter articles that govern these mechanics. 1. Why remaining an organization is a liability under international law.
IPOB liability.
An organization or movement is not a subject of international law possessing sovereign rights. It is merely a political or legal entity operating under the domestic laws of a host state. The trap of domestic jurisdiction. If you remain an organization, you are legally subject to the national laws of the country where you are registered or operating. This means your host government can dissolve you, seize your assets, or restrict your speech at any time.
Okay.
You have no sovereign immunity, the illegal combatant or subversive risk. If an organization attempts to exercise governance, control territory, or issue decrees without transitioning into a state structure, like a government in exile, it can easily be criminalized by an adversary as an illegal insurgent group, terrorist entity, or rogue organization rather than a legitimate belligerent or authority. No access to international forums. Organizations cannot sign treaties, cannot formally challenge a state at the International Court of Justice, ICJ, and cannot claim state immunity. 2. Why a government in exile and peaceful redeclaration matters. Transitioning into a government in exile and issuing a peaceful redeclaration is a formal claim to statehood under the criteria established by the Montevideo Convention, 1933, which forms the bedrock of customary international law on statehood. A government in exile argues that the state exists, but its government has been temporarily displaced or suppressed by illegal force or occupation. Preservation of sovereignty. Sovereignty belongs to the people and the state, not the occupying force. A government in exile serves as the legal caretaker of that sovereignty. The danger of delay. If a displaced population or occupied territory waits too long without declaring a continuous government or reclaiming sovereignty, the international community may view the situation as acquiescence, implied consent to the status quo or the occupying power's control. 3. Key UN Charter articles and legal pillars. To anchor your legal arguments, these are the exact articles and resolutions from the UN system that dictate self-determination, statehood, and the rights of peoples over non-state entities.
Are you hearing it? Now, 3. Key UN Charter article and legal pillars that back up what you already declared and what we have to argue in the world, as USB is arguing right now on top of the world powers, top of many countries, why they must grant us recognition. To anchor your legal arguments, these are the exact articles and the resolution from the UN system that dictates self-determination, statehood, and the right of the people over non-state entity. Everything is the law. It's because of our lack, because of we never believe in the law, and the sole country that where you are coming out from did not know law. That's why they sentenced Martin and the Khan and they asked someone to please show us the law. The ignorance of the law is why Biafra is being delayed over 57 years. The only right at that time that we have proved to the world that we understand what we are doing is after US declared. That is how we come back to the track. That is how we become on a legal part of it.
Article 1, Paragraph 2, the foundation of self-determination. To develop friendly relations among nations based on respect for the principle of equal rights and self-determination of peoples.
Are you hearing it? Article 1, Paragraph 2 of the United Nations and Montevideo Convention, the foundation of self-determination, the IPOB, come and listen to what we are claiming you are doing. To develop a friendly relations among nations based on respect of the principle of the equal right and self-determination of the people. You must develop a friendly relationship. All these offices, all these countries that you use in documents, that is what they can call what? Developing a friendly what? Recognition for you. That was simply mean. So legal means, listen.
Legal meaning. This elevates self-determination from a political concept to a binding principle of international law. However, the UN protects people seeking self-determination. An organization is merely an instrument. The ultimate goal under Article 1.2 must be the realization of a political status, statehood, or autonomy, which a government in exile formally embodies. Chapter 11, Article 7.
Let's hold it here. Legal meaning. This elevates self-determination from political concept to building a principle of international law. However, the UN protects people seeking self-determination. An organization is merely an instrument. The ultimate goal under Article 1 and 2 must be the recognition of a political status, stakeholder, or authority, which government in exile firmly have the right to do, embodied on it. Look at where we are. You see that why Biafra we have never achieved Biafra is because of what? Lack of the lack of international law and our memorism, our ignoramus, our not knowing and we claim we know it all. It is very, very important that we all understand this aspect. It is very, very important that we know what is at stake at this stage. It is very, very important that everything we are doing this time around, that Biafra has been delayed for 75 years of what? Our ignorance of international law and the world peaceful declaration, the world government in exile, that is the only one that has a legal backup. Like when we read when you read this paragraph 1, Article 1 and 2 of the United Nations Charter. Now let's proceed.
73 and 74. Non-self-governing territories. Article 73. Members of the United Nations which have or assume responsibilities for the administration of territories whose peoples have not yet attained a full measure of self-government recognize the principle that the interests of the inhabitants of these territories are paramount.
Are you seeing? Now, do you see how law? You know, when we are reading about organization, they tell you, no, no, no, no. It's liability. Now, when we enter into a government in exile, are you still hearing liability again? Are you still hearing there is no law? Now, what you're hearing is what? All the articles, all the charters that do what? That govern government in exile. That's why I use the word. It's not about how I feel. It's not about what I know. It's not about what I think. No, it is about the right thing. The right thing is on the legal part. And when you are hearing the legal playing out here, you will see the changes. Chapter SI, Article 7, 73 and 74, non-state governing territory. Now let's go. Article 73, members of the United Nations which has assumed responsibility for the administration of territory. Are you hearing that those assumed that are those that are control of territory is what? They are United Nations charters. So they are United Nations and the charters. So that is why we must do things for us to get the attention that we needed. Now let's continue. Members of the United Nations which has or assumed responsibility for the administration or territories which people have not yet attained a full measure of self-determination, recognize the principle that the interested of the inhabited of this territory are paramount to protect. Now there is a law. Now that we use this on a legal side. Let me tell you, one thing that will shock all of you is that immediately you use a civil recognition, you will see what you see this particular part I'm reading right now. Because this is what's being doing by the United Nations. So why do you, after you have listened to all this, why are you messing up? But we continue. Like legal meaning, the legal meaning. This outline the scared truth of administrating powerful calling. Article 73B mandated the development of self-determination and the free political situation remaining a permanent organization instead of establishing a personal government. Actively delayed the fulfillment of this article. They possibly did what? Delay the fulfillment of what? Of this article. Delaying the fulfillment of this article is why you can see that there is no implementation of the law into IPOB. That is, under IPOB, we have delayed Biafra to become a country for 57 years, and they're ready to do more, to delay more for you. Over 60 years is where we are heading. Why other countries implement all this law and achieve their own for 30 good years might not start from 27, from 57. How many remains? That is when you understand the delay I'm talking about. That's when you understand how we have wasted time. And they want us to continue. If not for Simon, honestly, Biafra has been gone. Because you see that Nakama has a war room out when he said that no one should buy Manson and the can. That within 3 months, Biafra will move on and forget about it. That's when you know that they are no longer genuine at all for 1 minute. At this time, you need to understand the reality. And the reality and the truth that will give us Biafra is in a document, not what we see, not how you feel, not what we want. The outline of administrating powers. Article 73B. Are you hearing it? This is a law that guides us. Only who? Only government in exile that issue official peaceful redeclaration of a lost country is the one that the world is talking about them here. That is the one. Please, if you never like the program, I urge you to please like and share. If you never do so, please help me to like and share the program so others will join us. We have a poll like today, but I know that many of people is at work because it's a Monday. I know. But please, if you come close to your phone, like the program to send inspiration to other people. Legal meaning. The legal meaning of all that will happen at this stage we are into. Listen to this.
Meaning. This outlines the sacred trust of administering powers. Crucially, Article 73b mandates the development of self-government and free political institutions. Remaining a permanent organization, instead of establishing a provisional government, actively delays the fulfillment of this article. Article 2, paragraph 4 and 7, the shields of sovereignty. Article 2(4) prohibits the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state. If a state was illegally occupied, a government in exile relies on Article 2(4) to argue that the occupier's administration is void ab initio, invalid.
Are you hearing it? The DSI organization, no. The DSI organization, they said, no, it's not about organization. It's about a government in exile that issue official redeclaration of a lost country. Hear it and hear it well. These are things that we're forced to do. This is why Biafra has been delayed. Article 2, paragraph 4 and 7, the shield of a sovereignty. Article 2, in bracket 4, prohibit the threat of use of force against the territorial integrity of a political independent of any state. He wants Biafra to be talking about, I am not supporting, what is he doing? And it was so much. And go and try by yourself. The government will not do that because the law prohibits us to do it. And when we are doing it, nobody organizes us again. Because all of you who are calling for Woto, you are never genuine from the one. You are not genuine from the one. And you cannot reason that this Woto put Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in problem. This is also part of what put Obato Obia in problem. You want us to continue doing one thing that are getting our leaders being arrested. Are you not ashamed of yourself for thinking like that? Today you are asking, did you know that we visited Mazi Nnamdi Kanu? Why did you, I ask you this question. Who shame for? Did he visit Mazi Nnamdi Kanu? He was arrested. I'm asking you. Who shame for? Did he visit Mazi Nnamdi Kanu? Chinasa, did he visit? You see him. The dead man's squad, the leader of the dead man's squad, Chinasa Nworu. Did you see him? Be very wise. Know when they are using you. Know when they're running propaganda in what we are doing. Do not allow them to use the propaganda to catch you. I'm telling you. The truth. Nothing but the truth. Article 2 in bracket 4 prohibit the threat of using all force against territorial integrity of a political independency of any state. When you are connected to the dot to what we are doing, do you see why that nobody is interfering to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's court case? Because of what? It's under local law of Nigeria government, whether like it or not. The organization has been there already. It is about the time that you listen to the real things that matter at this stage and understand what we have to do and the area we are. Let's continue. Of a state. If a state was illegally occupied, a government in exile rely on Article 2 in bracket 4 to argue that the occupier administration is valued. Is what? Valued into invalid from the start. Sorry, from the start. It is what? It is invalid. If there is no words, no full government in exile, if there is nothing to do, and look at all this article that said is prohibited for you to use force on Nigerian government, only peaceful way. We will achieve it, that it will take us time. That is when I say that destiny can be delayed, but can never be denied. That is where we are. Now let us go to Article 7.
From the start, Article 2(7) prevents the UN from intervening in matters within the domestic jurisdiction of states. This is the double-edged sword. If you are just an organization, a hostile state can claim that treating or suppressing your organization is purely a domestic police matter under Article 27. If you claim statehood via a government in exile, you pull the dispute out of their domestic hands and into the international arena.
I hope you are following. Article 2 in bracket 7 prevents the UN from interfering into matters within the domestic jurisdiction of a state like Nigeria government. So when you hear a arbitrary group of human rights has said this, that is the one they're saying it. There's no action on that because the law of this Article 2 in bracket 7 has already been there. Do you understand it? These are the important areas at this stage. Let me tell you one thing I want us to understand. Let me tell us this. You see, this, our emotion, is also part of ignorance of the Biafran people. Remove emotion that I love my Simon. But if no man Simon, Biafra will not come. I will spoil it. You are spoiling yourself because Simon did not own Biafra. Biafra does not belong to Simon Eba. He's just one person like you and I. He's just what? One person like you and I. When you look at what he's doing, he's on the right. But I want to tell you, for you to love the messenger more than the message is ignorance of the message and also the ignorance of law. And Biafra has never come because of this long, our ignorance of the law that could not allow us to do what? To have Biafra as a country. Until Simon Heba take over, until he got arrested, finish up the game as what? As end point of all the agitation movement and all of this. So that is why it is very, very imperative at this we're into that you understand where we stand and what backs us up and what we have to do. If you are just, this is the double game of sword. If you are just an organization, a hostile state can claim the territory, can treat you or suppress you, suppress your organization in is purely a domestic police matter. Under Article 2 in bracket 7, if you are claiming a statehood via government in exile, you pull the dispute out of this document, out of this domestic hands and into the sovereign, into the what? Into the international arena. Into international what? Arena. Who put that? The government in exile. Remember this word, Article 2, prevent the UN from interfering into internal matter. You see why we are telling you that when you're an organization, everything about you is what? It's an internal matter. It's not a legal matter. Because of what? If you're going to be legal, you must implement the owner of the house and whatever that we're doing. So at this stage that we are into, I want to understand that if law can prevent United Nations to come saying until we meet the standard criteria, that is what we are doing. So I urge you and tell you as a Biafran that we are on the right track and everything will happen very soon. I urge you to please hit the like button. Depending when you are watching and anytime you want to watch, please hit the like button. Article 2 in bracket 7 prevent the UN from interfering. IPOB is an internal matter of one Nigerian government. That is why. But OB is in Europe, where you can implement all the legal laws. Everything at this stage that we are into, it is a time for us to look at our past years' grievance, our past years' ignorance, and correct all of them. We that believe in Israel declared, we have correct all our past errors. Because of what? That is how it's supposed to be. Now, we move. Government in exile, you pull the dispute out of the domestic hands. Now you have changed the game from a domestic hand to international law because of what you want to do. And it is the right of the people.
Summary of the legal strategy: entity status, legal jurisdiction, international standing, danger level, organization/NGO, host country's domestic law, non-state actor, no treaty power, high
Who?
can be dissolved.
Who? Let me help you here. Let me do something here, please. International standard entity. When I'm coming. Oh God, why are you doing like that? Okay. Entity status now between government in exile and organization. Let us see their status and what it's all about. It is very important because this is all we have to do for us to have Biafra as a nation. That's why I told you it's not about how you feel, what you think, what you know. It is about the legal right. And legal right is in the document. Why how you feel and what you think is between you yourself. So that is why I am calling on you. Do what? To be until you declare. So once it is done, we move. I'm asking why is still waiting. Now, under this legal jurisdiction, international standing, danger level. Yes, the danger, they set who. The danger, let us how the danger goes. The danger is like this. Entity status. Now, let's go. Organization GEO, host country, domestic law. Non-state actor, no treaty, no power, international law standard. Then, dissolving and high can be dissolved, banned, or treaty as a subjective government in exile that are seeking for international recognition. Now on this, government in exile, international law about government in exile, listen. Claiming a subject of international law can refuse a formal recognition. Are you hearing it? They cannot refuse it. Then this one, protest, assistance, continue state sovereignty to the private legal way. You see, everything legal here, legal this way. It is the way we can achieve Biafra. You believe in Simon Eber? What do you reason? What do you make out of his word that a road to achieve Biafra is in the open? What do you make out from that word? What does he make out? If you ask you. Do you see that our ignorance is what makes us put us in and say that is a time for us to, that those in the diaspora who are smart and who understand how to achieve Biafra as a country, time to reason for those who could not be able to reason. That is why the government in exile issue of facial declaration. Are you following?
Banned or treated as subversives. Government in exile. International law, claimed subject of international law, can receive formal recognition. Protected, asserts continuous state sovereignty to prevent legal forfeiture. When an entity delays declaring a government in exile, it chooses to remain a corporate or civil entity under domestic law rather than stepping into its identity as a sovereign international peer.
I hope you heard it clearly. When an entity delayed declaration, a government in exile is chosen to remain a collaborator of civil entity under domestic law rather than stepping into identifying territory as a sovereign international pair. When you do not form government in exile, this is what you face. But when you form government in exile, everything that you needed will be going smoothly for you because of what? You have formed a government in exile. Now, can you see that we, the Biafran people, under usually declare that we are no longer under the ignorance of 57 years, we have been exempted. But to remove us from this ignorance of 57 years, the IPOB organization that has still remained without knowing the road that Biafra will come. It's not by sitting, it's not by talking, it's by the legal impact of it. I hope we are making common sense, my people. I hope you are understanding it clearly why that's now that the only government you have is US declared November the 20th, 1924. It is the only government we have. Do you understand it clearly? And do you now see why all this noise that does not matter? What matters is this legal aspect of it. I will play it again. In case you want to join us, you have the link also there to join if you wish to do so.
In international law, The structural shift from operating as an organization, NGO, political front or liberation movement, to formalizing a government in exile is a critical pivot. Remaining trapped in the structure of an organization while attempting to assert statehood, sovereignty, or self-determination creates serious legal vulnerabilities and liabilities. Here is a breakdown of why delaying this transition ignores international law, the dangers it poses to organizations, and the specific UN Charter articles that govern these mechanics. 1. Why remaining an organization is a liability under international law. Under international law, an organization or movement is not a subject of international law possessing sovereign rights. It is merely a political or legal entity operating under the domestic laws of a host state. The trap of domestic jurisdiction. If you remain an organization, you are legally subject to the national laws of the country where you are registered or operating. This means your host government can dissolve you, seize your assets, or restrict your speech at any time. You have no sovereign immunity, the illegal combatant or subversive risk. If an organization attempts to exercise governance, control territory, or issue decrees without transitioning into a state structure, like a government in exile, it can easily be criminalized by an adversary as an illegal insurgent group, terrorist entity, or rogue organization rather than a legitimate belligerent or authority. No access to international forums. Organizations cannot sign treaties, cannot formally challenge a state at the International Court of Justice, ICJ, and cannot claim state immunity. 2. Why a government in exile and peaceful redeclaration matters. Transitioning into a government in exile and issuing a peaceful redeclaration is a formal claim to statehood under the criteria established by the Montevideo Convention, 1933, which forms the bedrock of customary international law on statehood. A government in exile argues that the state exists, but its government has been temporarily displaced or suppressed by illegal force or occupation. Preservation of sovereignty. Sovereignty belongs to the people and the state, not the occupying force. A government in exile serves as the legal caretaker of that sovereignty. The danger of delay. If a displaced population or occupied territory waits too long without declaring a continuous government or reclaiming sovereignty, the international community may view the situation as acquiescence, implied consent to the status quo or the occupying power's control. 3. Key UN Charter articles and legal pillars. To anchor your legal arguments, these are the exact articles and resolutions from the UN system that dictate self-determination, statehood, and the rights of peoples over non-state entities. Article 1, Paragraph 2, the foundation of self-determination. To develop friendly relations among nations based on respect for the principle of equal rights and self-determination of peoples. Legal meaning. This elevates self-determination from a political concept to a binding principle of international law. However, the UN protects people seeking self-determination. An organization is merely an instrument. The ultimate goal under Article 1.2 must be the realization of a political status, statehood, or autonomy, which a government in exile formally embodies. Chapter 11, Articles 73 and 74. Non-self-governing territories. Article 73. Members of the United Nations which have or assume responsibilities for the administration of territories whose peoples have not yet attained a full measure of self-government recognize the principle that the interests of the inhabitants of these territories are paramount. Legal meaning. This outlines the sacred trust of administering powers. Crucially, Article 73b mandates the development of self-government and free political institutions. Remaining a permanent organization, instead of establishing a provisional government, actively delays the fulfillment of this article. Article 2, Paragraph 4 and 7, the shields of sovereignty. Article 2.4. prohibits the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state. If a state was illegally occupied, a government in exile relies on Article 2.4 to argue that the occupier's administration is void ab initio, invalid from the start. Article 2.7 prevents the UN from intervening in matters within the domestic jurisdiction of states. This is the double-edged sword. If you are just an organization, a hostile state can claim that treating or suppressing your organization is purely a domestic police matter under Article 2.7. If you claim statehood via a government in exile, you pull the dispute out of their domestic hands and into the international arena. Summary of the legal strategy. Entity status. Legal jurisdiction. International standing. Danger level. Organization/NGO. Host country's domestic law. Non-state actor. No treaty power. High, can be dissolved, banned, or treated as subversives. Government in exile. International law. Claimed subject of international law, can receive formal recognition. Protected, asserts continuous state sovereignty to prevent legal forfeiture. When an entity delays declaring a government in exile, it chooses to remain a corporate or civil entity under domestic law rather than stepping into its identity as a sovereign international peer.
I know that you follow the audio and you listen to that. Do you see that all these noisemakers of CRC, Briggy, BGC, CRC, when I talk about Briggy, I am talking about the automobile mechanic government in exile of layers. Those who trying to steal the position or the building that belongs Simon Ebanjok. Those who trying to steal someone's organization. That is who Ogenkere is. And you can say he has moved on with his life. You remember when he said in open fundraising or program, when he said that if they give him prime minister, he will take. That is when I know that this man have ulterior motive. And after answering that, the government sponsored him to be the prime minister today, to be the self-acclaimed prime minister, the criminal of Ogenkere, working for One Nigeria list, and with those in Finland. The government of USB must, or those who are in Finland, must draw attention of government of Finland to what Ifani and his cohort are doing in Finland. Trying to take over from Finland government to put up there in control. It's not going to happen. It's not under the law. That is why all this their illegality and all this their ignorance is why Biafra has been delayed to come. But because of Obatobi, know why we have delayed us, and Obatobi know how to move us forward speedily for us to achieve it before 2040. That is why he's fundament in exile. That is why he introduced that we have to redeclare Biafra again for the world to talk about us. And that is what is happening to you today. So when you listen to all these articles, you can see the backup that no one is like US redeclared. The ignorance of our people that have proven today is we are not the first. And I always say that word, we are not the last. But the issue is this, that we should move on from this ignorance into our own country. And we should hold it on the side of the truth, how every other nation achieved their own. You see, that thing we think, or how we feel, how we want it, it's not how to achieve Biafra as a country. The only way is what the legal is all about. The only way what Obatobi said, that the template to achieve Biafra as a country is in the open with all this law. Is it not really in the open? With all this article, is it not really in the open? It is in the open. It's not that we refuse to grab it. Our moodiness, our ignorance of law has also delayed Biafra not to be a country. And some of us want to continue on that path. Do you want to continue on ignorance? Do you want to continue on liability? If you are supporting Brigi, you are liability and ignorance of the law. You are supporting PUC, CRC, BDB, you are ignorance of the law and your liability. These are pure truth. This is what you need to know about. Listen to all this backup. And remember, they said that ignorance is not the end of the law. That ignorance is not what an excuse in the eyes of the law. So if you like today, be claiming you know it all, when you are under showcasing how stupidity and ignorance in your life by whatever you think that you may do. But I am telling you today, based on all this law, can you also see that it's only US will declare is the only legal one you have? That is why the government heads bent to want to use Ogenkere, I don't know, and this people in France to destroy the movement. But they can never destroy it because of what? It is legal, it's not illegal. And not in Nigeria, we are moving now, whereas we are in abroad or in exile, through a government in exile. What are we doing? We are framing everything up to understand the status quo of the world and why we need Biafra and why the time we are into now that we have succeeded. From that day, we issue a peaceful declaration. Do you see that? Please, if you join us, hit the like button, please. I know that it is very early and some Biafra are still at work by now, but please, if you work anytime you want to watch the program, please, I want to like and share. That is how you are supporting the page, please. Now we move into section 2 of the program. Let us see how this section 2 will go, because we need it to understand what we're into. When I sit down, look at all this group, I laugh. You know why? Because Biafra constitution must judge people, and we must use Biafran constitution to sentence those that is against our government. So that is why it's very, very important that this year we are into. I also want to understand everything that we are doing, that we are no longer in ignorance of the law. We are no longer on the side of illegality. We are no longer liability. So I want you to help me to do only but one on the comment section, please. I want you to type this: IPOB, BGC, CRC, MASOB, and any other group after you already declared is liability and illegality. Liability and illegality and ignorance of the law. I repeat, I want you to write in the comment section: IPOB, MASOB, BGC, CRC, PUK, and all of them. I want you to do me one favor by writing this, that all these groups I mentioned here, you know them, is what? Illegality, ignorance of the law, and what again? Ignorance of the law, illegality, and liability. The international law called them what? That they are what? Liability to their own people. Do you want to be a liability? Show you usually declared. That is the only thing. So my people, as we are stepping into number 2, what are we going to do? I want to give you a names of leaders who have been under organization. They was arrested, but later be released because of government in exile. But that's not what I want to do. I want to prove to you leaders that was arrested that never comes out until their people transition government in exile, until they issue peaceful declaration, and standard is when everything begin to work well. So on that note, listen to this audio. This is what happened. This is 5 leaders in Africa. We are not going to Europe, in Africa. So for those who are putting emotion on Mazen and the kind of Simon neighbor, go and sleep. You are deceiving yourself.
To understand how the legal landscape shifts between domestic rebellion and sovereign statehood, we can examine real historical examples. Here is the history of 5 freedom leaders who were judged under local municipal laws because their movements operated as domestic organizations, followed by a historical example of how international law and sovereign frameworks changed the fate of a leader. Part 1 to 5, freedom leaders judged under local laws. When a movement limits its scope to domestic protests, civil disobedience, or local armed resistance, the arresting state retains absolute control. They use their own penal codes to judge the leaders as common criminals or internal security threats. 1. Nelson Mandela, Organization, African National Congress, ANC, July Umkhonto we Sizwe, Spear of the Nation. The context. Mandela fought against the apartheid regime in South Africa through civil agitation, strikes, and later, targeted sabotage against state infrastructure. The legal process. Because the ANC operated as an internal political and militant movement within South Africa, the state exercised its absolute domestic jurisdiction. Mandela was arrested and tried during the famous Rivonia trial, 1963-1964. He was charged under South Africa's domestic laws, the General Law Amendment Act and the Suppression of Communism Act, with sabotage and conspiracy to overthrow the government. He was sentenced to life imprisonment under South African municipal law. 2. Mahatma Gandhi, Organization, Indian National Congress, INC. The context. Gandhi led the non-violent struggle for India's independence from British colonial rule, using mass protests, marches, and civil disobedience, satyagraha. The legal process. Despite preaching strictly non-violent agitation, the British colonial government treated the INC as a domestic political entity subject to colonial penal codes. In 1922, Gandhi was arrested for his role in mass protests, and tried under Section 124A of the Indian Penal Code, a local law governing sedition. The local colonial judge sentenced him to 6 years in prison, refusing to recognize his political motives as valid under international law. 3. Jomo Kenyatta, Organization, Kenya African Union, KAU, Devlash Mau Mau Movement. The context: Kenyatta was an anti-colonial activist fighting for the land rights and independence of the Kenyan people from British rule. The legal process: when the radical Mau Mau rebellion broke out, British authorities accused Kenyatta of being its secret leader. He was arrested in 1952 and tried by a local colonial court in the remote village of Kapenguria. He was judged entirely under local emergency regulations and the Kenyan Colonial Penal Code for managing an unlawful society. He was sentenced to 7 years of hard labor and indefinite restriction. 4. Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, Organization, Convention People's Party, CPP. The context: Nkrumah led the Positive Action Campaign in the Gold Coast, now Ghana, which used non-violent strikes, boycotts, and mass protests to demand self-government from the British Empire. The legal process: the colonial authorities treated the CPP as a local civil disruptor. In 1950, Nkrumah was arrested and tried before a local magistrate court. He was convicted under domestic colonial statutes for instigating illegal strikes and publishing seditious materials, receiving a 3-year prison sentence under local laws. 5. Abdullah Öcalan, Organization, Kurdistan Workers' Party, PKK. The context: Öcalan led a militant campaign demanding an independent or autonomous Kurdish state within Turkey. The legal process: captured in 1999, Öcalan was placed on trial by a Turkish state security court on the island of İmralı. Because the Turkish government and its courts viewed the PKK strictly as an illegal domestic separatist organization, he was judged entirely under the Turkish Penal Code, Article 125, for treason and attempting to disrupt the unity of the state. He was initially sentenced to death, which was later commuted to life imprisonment under domestic legal changes. Part 2. The shift to international law and government in exile. When a movement transitions from a domestic pressure group into an internationally recognized entity, the local laws of the arresting state lose their absolute authority. Historical example: Zanana Gusmao, East Timor. The organization: FRETILINCNRT, National Council of Timorese Resistance. The narrative shift: Zanana Gusmao led the independence movement of East Timor against Indonesian military occupation. In 1992, he was captured by Indonesian forces. Local arrest: 1992. Judged under Indonesian Penal Code, life sentence, filled down pointing triangle, legal battlefield shifts. International law pivot: UN rejects Indonesian sovereignty over East Timor, filled down pointing triangle. The result: diplomatic release, 1999. Released under international mandate, becomes head of state. The local judgment: the Indonesian government treated East Timor as its 27th province and considered Gusmao a domestic insurgent. He was tried in a local court in Jakarta, convicted under the Indonesian Penal Code for rebellion and illegal weapon possession, and sentenced to life imprisonment, later commuted to 20 years. The international law intervention: while Gusmao sat in a local prison, the East Timorese resistance operated an aggressive international diplomatic campaign led by Jose Ramos Horta. Crucially, the United Nations and international law did not recognize Indonesia's annexation of East Timor. Under public international law, East Timor was classified as a non-self-governing territory under illegal foreign occupation. The release: because international law backed the sovereignty of East Timor rather than Indonesian domestic court rulings, the diplomatic and economic pressure on Jakarta became unsustainable. Under the weight of international law, UN resolutions, and global sanctions, Indonesia was forced to allow a UN-sponsored referendum in 1999. Following the vote, Gusmao's status shifted completely from a domestic felon to the internationally recognized leader of a sovereign nation. He was released from Indonesian custody under international diplomatic mandates and went on to become East Timor's first president.
I hope you are listening. Hey, Martin Nandekan, hey, release him. Nigerian government. IPOB will focus on the reason of Martin Nandekan, which they can never succeed. That is the only way Nigeria plans to keep us down. And when you are championing all these of Martin Nandekan without asking for Biafra to become a country, you are a big moron, you are a big fool. You are illegal human being. You are illegality. And you are liability. Do you know what I said? You are a full liability to the movement of having a new nation. You are full what? A full bunch of illegality. You are illegal. You are liability to the world and to Biafra name. The only way you move from that is when you support this government, obviously declared. And that is how every other leader, you had it here. All these leaders I mentioned here was being arrested. Sorry, under the local law. As they are arrested under the local law released them. Did they come like Kwame Nkrumah? Did the Ghana government release them? The answer is no. He was released. Immediately his people achieved Ghana as a country. That's how he was released. All that I mentioned here, I want you to see that he had it here, that being released under international law. What is the international law? The international law of them to be released is that there are people transition government in exile. They issue official declaration of their lost country. Those who was no issue declaration, and they pursue the goal by succeeding by achieving a full government in exile recognition as a country. They come back over their country, and the hosting country, who has said their leader that did what, release him. He comes back. They never come back to start broadcast. They come back, become a president or a prime minister of that country. They have in mind they are fighting before they've been taken away, meaning that those they keep outside know what they are fighting for and how to achieve Biafra. That is why those who came for the movement for the first Western can all are a bunch of criminals. Those who was wicked, all are a bunch of lunatic, and all are a bunch of the mad people that never know how to achieve Biafra as a country. The easy way to achieve Biafra as a country: one, let a woman pilot. Number two is what? Form government in exile. And it's not just to form government in exile. You must issue a peaceful declaration, and they have the document of the declaration in your hand. This is how all these leaders, both five in Africa or anywhere from there, that is how you understand that what we are doing is trying to be on the legal side of it. Easy, I see you. Thank you so much. Onwe, I see you. Thank you. Joseph Mother, I see you. Thank you so much for being here. Sister Juliet, I see you. Thank you so much. So I will play it again before I go into my analysis. I want to listen to this. It's not by me. It's what has happened in this world and how they become a country, how they become a president.
The reason these two types of leaders are treated so differently comes down to one core concept in legal science: international legal personality. Under public international law, courts can only apply global treaties and international frameworks if the entity involved has achieved a recognized state. To understand how the legal landscape shifts between domestic rebellion and sovereign statehood, we can examine real historical examples. Here is the history of 5 freedom leaders who were judged under local municipal laws because their movements operated as domestic organizations, followed by a historical example of how international law and sovereign frameworks changed the fate of a leader. Part 1 to 5, Freedom Leaders Judged Under Local Laws. When a movement limits its scope to domestic protests, civil disobedience, or local armed resistance, the arresting state retains absolute control. They use their own penal codes to judge the leaders as common criminals or internal security threats. 1. Nelson Mandela, Organization, African National Congress, ANC, Vilai Umkhonto we Sizwe, Spear of the Nation. The context: Mandela fought against the apartheid regime in South Africa through civil agitation, strikes, and later, targeted sabotage against state infrastructure. The legal process: because the ANC operated as an internal political and militant movement within South Africa, the state exercised its absolute domestic jurisdiction. Mandela was arrested and tried during the famous Rivonia trial, 1963-1964. He was charged under South Africa's domestic laws, the General Law Amendment Act and the Suppression of Communism Act, with sabotage and conspiracy to overthrow the government. He was sentenced to life imprisonment under South African municipal law. 2. Mahatma Gandhi, Organization, Indian National Congress, INC. The context: Gandhi led the non-violent struggle for India's independence from British colonial rule, using mass protests, marches, and civil disobedience, satyagraha. The legal process: despite preaching strictly non-violent agitation, The British colonial government treated the INC as a domestic political entity subject to colonial penal codes. In 1922, Gandhi was arrested for his role in mass protests and tried under Section 124A of the Indian Penal Code, a local law governing sedition. The local colonial judge sentenced him to 6 years in prison, refusing to recognize his political motives as valid under international law. 3. Jomo Kenyatta, Organization, Kenya African Union, KAU, Devlash Mau Mau Movement. The context: Kenyatta was an anti-colonial activist fighting for the land rights and independence of the Kenyan people from British rule. The legal process: when the radical Mau Mau rebellion broke out, British authorities accused Kenyatta of being its secret leader. He was arrested in 1952 and tried by a local colonial court in the remote village of Kapenguria. He was judged entirely under local emergency regulations and the Kenyan Colonial Penal Code for managing an unlawful society. He was sentenced to 7 years of hard labor and indefinite restriction. 4. Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, Organization, Convention People's Party, CPP. The context: Nkrumah led the Positive Action campaign in the Gold Coast, now Ghana, which used non-violent strikes, boycotts, and mass protests to demand self-government from the British Empire. The legal process: the colonial authorities treated the CPP as a local civil disruptor. In 1950, Nkrumah was arrested and tried before a local magistrate court. He was convicted under domestic colonial statutes for instigating illegal strikes and publishing seditious materials, receiving a 3-year prison sentence under local laws. 5. Abdullah Öcalan, Organization, Kurdistan Workers' Party, PKK. The context: Öcalan led a militant campaign demanding an independent or autonomous Kurdish state within Turkey. The legal process: captured in 1999, Öcalan was placed on trial by a Turkish state security court on the island of İmralı. Because the Turkish government and its courts viewed the PKK strictly as an illegal domestic separatist organization, he was judged entirely under the Turkish Penal Code, Article 125, for treason and attempting to disrupt the unity of the state. He was initially sentenced to death, which was later commuted to life imprisonment under domestic legal changes. Part 2. The shift to international law and government in exile. When a movement transitions from a domestic pressure group into an internationally recognized entity, the local laws of the arresting state lose their absolute authority. Historical example: Zanana Gusmao, East Timor. The organization: FRETILINCNRT, National Council of Timorese Resistance. The narrative shift: Zanana Gusmao led the independence movement of East Timor against Indonesian military occupation. In 1992, he was captured by Indonesian forces. Local arrest: 1992. Judged under Indonesian Penal Code, life sentence, filled down pointing triangle, legal battlefield shifts. International law pivot: UN rejects Indonesian sovereignty over East Timor, filled down pointing triangle. The result: diplomatic release, 1999. Released under international mandate, becomes head of state. The local judgment: the Indonesian government treated East Timor as its 27th province and considered Gusmao a domestic insurgent. He was tried in a local court in Jakarta, convicted under the Indonesian Penal Code for rebellion and illegal weapon possession, and sentenced to life imprisonment, later commuted to 20 years. The international law intervention: while Gusmao sat in a local prison, the East Timorese resistance operated an aggressive international diplomatic campaign led by José Ramos Horta. Crucially, the United Nations and international law did not recognize Indonesia's annexation of East Timor. Under public international law, East Timor was classified as a non-self-governing territory under illegal foreign occupation. The release: because international law backed the sovereignty of East Timor rather than Indonesian domestic court rulings, the diplomatic and economic pressure on Jakarta became unsustainable. Under the weight of international law, UN resolutions, and global sanctions, Indonesia was forced to allow a UN-sponsored referendum in 1999. Following the vote, Gusmao's status shifted completely from a domestic felon to the internationally recognized leader of a sovereign nation. He was released from Indonesian custody under international diplomatic mandates and went on to become East Timor's first president.
You know, when we are fighting these Biafra and our leaders are being arrested, it sounds to look like, oh, it never happened anywhere before. Or those who could not research and find out will tell you, oh, our case is so peculiar. all these people that was arrested, their case not peculiar. And how did all of them come out to be the case? Did any one of them died in the prison? Many of them was being arrested when their group is doing what? When they are under organization. It was arrested. Immediately they finished being under organization, they all got their freedom. When their people moved the movement away from organization and form a government in exile, South Africa formed government in exile. That is why Nelson Mandela was released. Kwame Nkrumah did not automatically, everything about government in exile is have two branches like us. He was in exile and he was arrested, put in prison. Immediately his people achieved recognition via the homeland and the little one in exile. He was released. All these 5 of them or 6 of them that was being mentioned here, all of them fought for the way Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the same Wabata Obie fought for them to be able to have to a country. On the midst of that, they all got arrested. They got arrested when there was an organization. The man of Indonesia, or Timor-Leste, gotten his own under when they have already formed organization and they have transitioned. That is why they use the example as the first who was released immediately because of what? The government in exile he formed have issued a peaceful declaration that what we want is another country out of Indonesia. Based on that, they submitted their document. They start their argument. They are proving that, oh, the person you are holding is not a member, is not a citizen of Indonesia. It is a citizen of a new country that are waiting for recognition by name, East Timor or Timor-Leste. Do you see that all of them come, they never died in prison? Even those that was being sentenced to life imprisonment was turned and they come out because of what? People that left outside was not ignorant of the law. People they left outside was not illegality movement. The people left outside, there was no liability to the world. Rather, they transitioned and they stand on existing protocol. They stand on the mandate how they will achieve their countries. This is what happened in this world. Oh, our case is peculiar. Our case is different. It's a pure lie. It is because of we refuse to stand on the legal path. We stand on illegality for 57 years. We stand on ignorance of the law for 57 years after 1970. All that we are doing, except 2022, 2023, precisely, when Abba told me, transitioned us into government in exile. It's from that time that we have stepped outside from the world. Number one, be an ignorance of international law of how Biafra will become a country. Number one. Number two, we are not under organization anymore. We are not under legality. You see, these particular 2 things, that is what is laying us. That is why everybody was sharing the idea that our case is different. Also, I was also thinking that way, that our case is so different from every other case in the world. Nigeria is nobody that our case should be anything. It's because of, rather, we are helping them stand on illegality. Why the law is protecting them. Before you will be somebody that is standing on the law, you will find a law that supersedes him. That person that you are fighting want to win will not stand on legal, and you stand on illegality. When they see that Obatobi, Simon Neighbor has come to put us on the legal power, what happened? They start fighting him. They want to destroy him. They don't want him to leave. This is what has happened in this world. This is exact what has happened in this world that we are living. People has fight and shape their country. People has fight and become a nation. People has gone through this process. Look at all these people. There was being sentenced through the legal internal law of Ghana. Like Mazi Nnamdi Kanu being judged. Finland misfired and they will pay. Maybe they told us to go and fight for Biafra through legal means. Okay, fine. Let's take it to this 21st century that you must fight for a country through a legal means. And through that legal means, that is where we are at this stage. The legal means is where we are. There is no other way around. So now that we stand on this legal impact of how Biafra will be a country, can't you see that we are doing everything right depending on the legal part of it? That is why I want you to understand that it's only through you as we declared, and this movement that we are into is how we are proving to the world that we are no longer under the ignorance of the law. So on that note, I am going to play it again about what is the ignorance of our people. After playing this ignorance of our people, I am going to shut down because I have something to do, and I said I will stay for only 3 hours. So I have played to you 3 leaders from Africa. There was been sentenced, but there was a letter released. Everybody should be asking, what is that thing that made these leaders to be released? What made them to release that their people transition? 1, into government in exile. 2, the issue declaration or redeclaration. 3, the achievement of their country. As they signed treaty, achieve recognition, what's happened? They all are being released. They came back alive. They become a president of a nation. They become prime minister of a nation, not for an organization. That is why it's only government in exile is the only way. Any organization with the protests and the agitation and the only sit at home and the only civil disobedience is not enough. That is not enough. You must issue a peaceful declaration of the lost country before the world will look at you. Please check your like and hit the like button, please. So let us play this once again before we end the program. It's very important we do so. Please hit the like button.
In international law, the structural shift from operating as an organization, NGO, political front, or liberation movement, to formalizing a government in exile is a critical pivot. Remaining trapped in the structure of an organization while attempting to assert statehood, sovereignty, or self-determination creates serious legal vulnerabilities and liabilities. Here is a breakdown of why delaying this transition ignores international law, the dangers it poses to organizations, and the specific UN Charter articles that govern these mechanics. 1. Why remaining an organization is a liability under international law. Under international law, an organization or movement is not a subject of international law possessing sovereign rights. It is merely a political or legal entity operating under the domestic laws of a host state. The trap of domestic jurisdiction. If you remain an organization, you are legally subject to the national laws of the country where you are registered or operating. This means your host government can dissolve you, seize your assets, or restrict your speech at any time. You have no sovereign immunity, the illegal combatant or subversive risk. If an organization attempts to exercise governance, control territory, or issue decrees without transitioning into a state structure, like a government in exile, it can easily be criminalized by an adversary as an illegal insurgent group, terrorist entity, or rogue organization rather than a legitimate belligerent or authority. No access to international forums. Organizations cannot sign treaties, cannot formally challenge a state at the International Court of Justice, ICJ, and cannot claim state immunity. 2.
For you that in IPOB claiming what we are claiming, we have submitted letter in ICJ, we have gone to UN, you don't have the money, they will not call you because they are representing country to country, not organization. That is why they told Mazen and they can go and be doing something. Go and be doing something. Imagine the late dead Bulgaria said that we should organize ourselves. And the evidence is everywhere, proof that we have organized ourselves the way we are before. These are the areas I want you to be looking at everything that we are doing at this stage. It's not about what we are thinking. It's not about our case is different. Why you are doing making the case different. Is it what you think? I want you to really sincerely look down into your heart and ask yourself a question. Why every other country succeed? Why are we never succeed? Why is because of Biafra is delayed to be a nation over 57 years of our ignorance, lack of international law, and the lack of redeclaration and lack of going in exile. I have made it open to understanding every ratification that the only one way is by transition into government in exile. Second is to issue a peaceful declaration. Third is to start achieving international diplomatic recognition by you working, sending the documents and proving to the other countries that we can govern ourselves. This is pure how it is. It's not by cocoa and bull stories that are going around. It's not by that. You see, all this liability, the IPOB, you see, all this CRC, BGC, please, I have tell this time without number. If you want to address fallback group, address them as what? Automobile mechanic government in exile of Ogen, Kera, and Sonia Parawa, please. Address them with what? Automobile mechanic government in exile of Ogen, Kere, and Sonia Parawa. This is who they are. We're a phone repairer in Quebec, like a Mapa Wallace in Ghana. A car repairer, no car repairer, or Panebita, not the real car repairer. The Panebita man in Baltimore, his government in exile of automobile mechanic government in exile. They are not for you. They came to destroy the movement. They came to stop you by Nigerian sending them to. That is why they voted that they do not want Biafra to be declared. Even on the second, they said that over 2 days arrested, that what you do is you wait for him to come out and redeclare it by himself. And that is what some people are following, calling him a Prime Minister, because of what? He is giving the money that the government gives to them. Nigeria always play divide and rule on us.
Government in exile and peaceful redeclaration matters. Transitioning into a government in exile and issuing a peaceful redeclaration is a formal claim to statehood under the criteria established by the Montevideo Convention, 1933, which forms the bedrock of customary international law on statehood. A government in exile argues that the state exists, but its government has been temporarily displaced or suppressed by illegal force or occupation. Preservation of sovereignty. Sovereignty belongs to the people and the state, not the occupying force. A government in exile serves as the legal caretaker of that sovereignty. The danger of delay. If a displaced population or occupied territory waits too long without declaring a continuous government or reclaiming sovereignty, the international community may view the situation as acquiescence, implied consent to the status quo or the occupying power's control. 3. Key UN Charter articles and legal pillars. To anchor your legal arguments, these are the exact articles and resolutions from the UN system that dictate self-determination, statehood, and the rights of peoples over non-state entities. Article 1, Paragraph 2. The foundation of self-determination. To develop friendly relations among nations based on respect for the principle of equal rights and self-determination of peoples. Legal meaning. This elevates self-determination from a political concept to a binding principle of international law. However, the UN protects peoples seeking self-determination. An organization is merely an instrument. The ultimate goal under Article 1.2 must be the realization of a political status, statehood, or autonomy, which a government in exile formally embodies. Chapter 11, Articles 73 and 74. Non-self-governing territories. Article 73. Members of the United Nations which have or assume responsibilities for the administration of territories whose peoples have not yet attained a full measure of self-government recognize the principle that the interests of the inhabitants of these territories are paramount. Legal meaning. This outlines the sacred trust of administering powers. Crucially, Article 73b mandates the development of self-government and free political institutions. Remaining a permanent organization, instead of establishing a provisional government, actively delays the fulfillment of this article. Article 2, Paragraph 4 and 7, the shields of sovereignty. Article 2.4. prohibits the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state. If a state was illegally occupied, a government in exile relies on Article 2.4 to argue that the occupier's administration is void ab initio, invalid from the start. Article 2.7 prevents the UN from intervening in matters within the domestic jurisdiction of states. This is the double-edged sword. If you are just an organization, a hostile state can claim that treating or suppressing your organization is purely a domestic police matter under Article 2.7. If you claim statehood via a government in exile, you pull the dispute out of their domestic hands and into the international arena. Summary of the legal strategy. Entity status. Legal jurisdiction. International standing. Danger level. Organization/NGO. Host country's domestic law. Non-state actor. No treaty power. High, can be dissolved, banned, or treated as subversives. Government in exile. International law. Claimed subject of international law, can receive formal recognition. Protected, asserts continuous state sovereignty to prevent legal forfeiture. When an entity delays declaring a government in exile, it chooses to remain a corporate or civil entity under domestic law rather than stepping into its identity as a sovereign international peer.
Thank you. We are going to leave it here until we come back again today with another different program. Also, I want to see that this movement, Ogonna, thank you so much for that wonderful one. Automobile Mechanic Government of Ogenkere and Sonia Parawa is illegal. That is who they are. Hashtag Automobile Mechanic Government of Ogenkere and Sonia Parawa is illegal. They are illegal. I hope you are listening to all this UN charter and article. We come to change the narrative to bring you those things that have delayed Biafra. As Chukwuka Abiyama is giving us the message, our own is to give the message out to you. Our own is to give you the message. That's what we have to do. So for you to know that if you're against USB, you are digging your grave. If you stand with USB, you are on the legal path. And you are on the right track. How Biafra should be a country. It's not by what anybody think. It's not about how I feel. It's not about my emotion. It's not. It is about the legal. That is why we have wasted 57 years. Wasted. Except from the coming of Simon Epanjoko, precisely from the 2022. From the year of 2022, when he transitioned us fully into a full structure of a government in exile. And you understand what it means that all these articles that we have, that is why he said, until we declare it, without redeclaration of our USB, that we are making noise and we are not doing anything right. So please, I want to thank all of you that are here today. Machigozie, thank you. Calling him a mechanic is a promoting him. He can study mechanic engineering in the university. He is a panel beater. Amahaji, you are still here. Thank you. So I don't know that you're still here up to now, honestly, but there is no problem. That's for now using that word. Okay, we will change it, and maybe towards the weekend on our WhatsApp group, we will have a time for joke or laugh again. So I would know how to customize the name again and dish it out with their pictures, even on my S handle and everywhere. I thank you all. I thank everyone who is here. We are going to leave it here. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much. We are on the right track. And that is why I'm happy. That's why you're seeing me here. After everything, the USB declared there is no one like USB. Obro USB, ever one chance. Obro USB, never you. That is only what is legal. And that is only what is laying us, is what the government has come to give to us. That is why we know that this government of USB is the right government. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. I greet all of you for being here. Thank you so much. It's only us can do it this time around. Nobody will do it, because the law to have Biafra as a country is not written in the school at all. It's only we can research it, dish it out, and give it to people, and we will understand what we are doing. Thank you for being here. This is having an attack. The attack remove all our likes and reduce the followers, but whether you like it or not, the message has gone. So that's why I always urge you to share on your S handle, share on your Facebook, on your TikTok, so the message will be going viral. We also remind you to please try and subscribe on our TikTok page, because we want to grow up to 100. We're on 60 something. We want to go it up to 100, so we can be able to go live on TikTok to talk to those people that are there. So help me to do that, please. What I want is how the message will be going viral, how the message will be going to every appropriate ears for them to hear, for them to know that IPOB is illegality, for them to know that all these organizations, all of them are the same thing, they are all illegality. Please endeavor to do that. Once again, thank you so much. Until I see you again in the evening time or in the night, watch out and leave the notification on, please.